I'm in the world, but not of it. I praise God every day and I love it. I say what I want and I say what they want. I stand for the truth and what's right and they don't. Life is simple, it's no puzzle. Common sense will tell you not to wear a muzzle. Fear no evil, trust no people. When in doubt, shout, I'm a believer. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me.
I offend everybody, the left, right, in the middle. Blame my parents because I've been this way since I was little. It used to be normal, now everybody praying to crystals. No wonder why it's so easy for the devil to trick you. They treat you like dogs, putting muzzles all on your faces, forcing kids to wear them in schools. Doesn't this seem outrageous? They ban Bible scriptures on TikTok.
Let's go to Target! Let's go to Target! Get some PlayStations! Let's go to Target!
I'm in the world, but not of it. I praise God every day and I love it. I say what I want and I say what they want. I stand for the truth and what's right and they don't. Life is simple, it's no puzzle. Common sense will tell you not to wear a muzzle. Fear no evil, trust no people. When in doubt, shout, I'm a believer. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me.
I offend everybody, the left, right, in the middle. Blame my parents because I've been this way since I was little. It used to be normal, now everybody praying to crystals. No wonder why it's so easy for the devil to trick you. They treat you like dogs, putting muzzles all on your faces, forcing kids to wear them in schools. Doesn't this seem outrageous? They ban Bible scriptures on TikTok.
Let's go to Target! Let's go to Target! Get some PlayStations! Let's go to Target!
Whoop, headspace is off. It's better. Thank you, chair. Thank you, chair, for that. Very nice. Very nice. I like when my chair does what I need it to do. How's everybody doing today? It's Monday night. Kicking the week off right. Monday day. It's sunshiny outside. It's starting to warm up, finally. Holy moly, it's finally starting to warm up. But this is Utah, so it might snow. We might still have 1 3-day snow flurry left. Who knows? Where's my Cashapp thing? There's the Cashapp. Guys, hit up the Cashapp. Send money for pizza and beer. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button on your way in. What's up, Chuck Danger? Chuck Danger. Let's get dangerous. All right. Little show tonight, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot to talk about. We're going to talk about Elon saving the astronauts. Elon saved the astronauts that Biden left in space. Like a dang movie. Astronauts were stranded in space. Biden didn't care, or he didn't know about it. He's like, space? What's space? Space isn't real. I heard space isn't even real. They were stuck in space. Elon saved them. He's still on my Antichrist watch list, but he saved the astronauts. The JFK files. A lot of people saying that it's a big nothing burger. I don't think any of those people have read 80,000 documents, so probably just repeating what they heard from people. And I'm just going to repeat what I heard from people. But it's not nothing. There is something there. There is something there. So we'll talk about the one interesting thing that we learned, which a lot of people suspected, and we'll kind of touch up on the JFK stuff. JFK files. Trump fights with a judge over did I say deportations? I thought it said reparations on my notes. Like reparations. What did I write that for? No, deportation. Trump fighting with the border judge over the deportations. Ada wanted me to come and talk to him about the deportation sometime this week, but he's always streaming when I'm at work, so I don't know. I could call in, but it's going to sound like crap on my earbuds while I'm at work, and I'm not going to be able to have stuff in front of me, but I've been doing the education. So we'll talk about why lefties are mad that we're deporting rapist, criminal, illegal gang member immigrants, and they're all butthurt about it. Well, no, we need to let them destroy our country. We have to. This is unconstitutional. I'll show you exactly why it is constitutional to deport illegal immigrants. I was reading into the astronauts' return. They look jaundiced and ill from being in space so long. From what I understand, ISS is low orbit. It makes you wonder how life could survive long-term in space. We would need like domes with like artificial gravity, and if we were on a planet with similar to Earth's gravity and we had like Mars and we had domes, then that wouldn't happen as fast. That happens because they're in a ship. You couldn't be in a ship, for a long period of time. But if we were on Mars, I think its gravity is kind of similar to Earth's. Then we would need domes, and then eventually we would need to terraform it. What's up, Amanda? To stop that from happening. But you're right. If we had some sort of like giant space station where people were living, it would not. No, everybody would look like. But maybe that's why the aliens look the way they look. Maybe that's why the aliens have tiny, skinny bodies. They're androgynous. They have no sexual organs because they don't need sex to reproduce anymore. They make babies in artificial wombs and petri dishes. That's why they don't have sexual organs. They have big old heads, which I think is false because the aliens would also, I think, would be dumber. If a race got advanced enough, we already see it now, but once a race gets advanced enough to start doing interplanetary travel, that race actually gets dumber because technology takes over. So like Elon even said that when we're sending the Falcons to try to get to Mars because of the orbital trajectory is, I think he said, twice every 4 years or once every 2 years or something like that, it gets on a path. And he said within 30 years, we'll have enough cycles to hopefully get to Mars. Hopefully sooner rather than later, he says. So that's like 60, you could do 60 attempts in 30 years. And he thinks that one of those in the next 30 years is going to make it successfully to Mars and back. And that's what he said on Joe Rogan's show. So, but he said AI is going to be doing a lot of the work, a lot of the heavy lifting of the ship. It's going to be an unmanned ship, and AI is going to be controlling it. So, aliens, if they existed, they wouldn't have these big heads with these big brains, because we don't get smarter once we become not not a technocracy, because that's the wrong word. Technocracy isn't about technology, it's about technique. But industrialized, once we're super industrialized so that we can do interplanetary travel, people get dumber, not smarter. So we would not have these little atrophied bodies, atrophied androgynous bodies with no sex organs, no muscle mass, no skin tone, because we don't go outside. We're just gray, skinny. Wow. We would also have smaller heads because our brains would start to shrivel up like peanuts. Mars gravity is 60% less than Earth. Yeah. Yeah, so that would cause some problems. It would make people weaker. Yeah. You'd be like lighter. It'd be the opposite of the hyperbolic time chamber. It'd be the opposite of gravity training. You would want to increase the gravity to get stronger. You know, Vegeta was training in like 1,000 times Earth gravity. Remember, he couldn't even do Goku when he went in like 100 gravity. He couldn't even like walk. And then Vegeta goes in 1,000 times gravity and starts hitting them push-ups. And that's how he went Super Saiyan. Before reading into it, thought it as simple as sending people to Mars, but the sustainability has a lot of holes in it for long term. Yeah. Yeah, and this is like 100 years off. You know. But if we can get there and get back, then and then you just got to figure out how to make domes. But could you imagine being in a dome in space on another planet with not livable gravity? Like, something happens to the dome, everybody's dead. Dome cracks, everybody dead. That would suck. That would not be good. Worm people, yes, worm people. What else we got? Trump and the border stuff. And then at the end, we're going to do a deep dive into John Dewey, the Marxist socialist who invented critical thinking and basically formed the public education system as we know it today, the modern public education system, which is garbage, which is trash, and why critical thinking, people need to stop saying, we need to do more critical thinking. Stop saying that. You sound like a damn commie every time you said, stop speaking like commies. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. It's deeper than you think. It's deeper than you think. But it's also right on the surface. Like, you should just hear that. And there should be like alarms going on. When you hear critical thinking, alarms should go off in your head. You should be like, that sounds kind of commie. Critical thinking? Something don't sound right about that. But people don't. Especially women. They love the public education system. I hear women who are like, I'm a trad conservative woman, and you know what's wrong with the world today? We don't have enough critical thinking. And I'm like, shut up. Shut up. You sound like a commie. Do you even know where that comes from? It comes from a commie. No commies allowed. Get out of here with that crap. Stop critical thinking. We need to go back to common sense. People will like knock common sense. They're like, common sense? Oh, that's dumb. No, we used to have common sense. Now we have critical thinking. And people are dumber and more commie. So get that crap out of here. No commies allowed. A dome on Mars would be full of sin. Mars syndrome. I've got Mars syndrome. Mars syndrome. Everybody got a syndrome. Now everybody's going to have a syndrome. All right. Elon, the SpaceX, this is from Fox Business. They're going to get paid. These astronauts about to get paid, boy. It's paid, boy. It's kind of like false imprisonment. You know what you get? I heard, I don't know if this is true. I've never really looked into this, but I heard this from guys in jail that if you're falsely imprisoned, you get $100 a day. So I'm like, damn, falsely lock me up for like 5 years. I'll take it and come out with a paycheck. Getting hooked up, boy. But you think false imprisonment gets you paid? I bet you these astronauts about to get freaking paid up. The SpaceX Dragon spacecraft carrying, I love the names of his spaceships. The Falcon, the Dragon. The Dragon. We're going to talk about dragons later on this week. Never heard of that? Of what? Getting paid for false imprisonment? It might not be true. Maybe it's not true. I don't know. But I've heard it. The SpaceX Dragon spacecraft carrying Wilmore and Williams. There's a comma there. So his name's not Wilmer Williams. That would be a funny name, though. My name's Will. Willie. Will. I think that's very close to the truth. I've heard that before, too. Yeah, I do think you get compensated for false imprisonment. I'm not sure the amount, but fellow NASA astronaut Nick Hague and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov. You know, it's interesting. This happened right after the movie ISS came out. You guys seen the movie ISS? Pretty good movie. I was excited about it. It wasn't as good as I hoped it would be, but it was decent. It was good. It was there's a Russian and an American space team on the ISS, and they look out the window and they start seeing down on Earth, they start seeing mushroom clouds, nukes going off all over America. LA, New York, Texas, Florida, Washington, D.C., nukes going off all over America. And then they get a call on the phone. The Americans get a call on their phone, and the Russians get a call on their phone, and they both pick up their phone, and it's both their government saying, the Russians have attacked. They're nuking America. We're nuking them back. Everyone on Earth is shooting nukes at everybody now. You need to secure the space station. Take it by any means necessary from the Ruskies. And on the Russian phone, they're saying, which translates to, the Americans bombed Russia. Everybody's bombing each other. Secure the space station by any means necessary. It's an interesting concept. And then 6 months later, bunch of freaking astronauts, 137-day minimum. So I was close. There's some inflation. Maybe it was 100 when I heard this. Now it's up to 137 due to Biden inflation. See, I know what I'm talking about. So anyway, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, the movies, predictive programming. They put the dang movies out and then it comes true. Or what's true gets put into the movies. Like Flintstones and Jurassic Park. All right. They are like gene splicing and making dinosaurs now. Anyway, or dragons. We could call them dragons. Known as Crew 9, landed in the Gulf of America. Nice. They landed they're the first astronauts to come home to the Gulf of America. Let's freaking go. In near Tallahassee, Florida, with SpaceX crew quickly recovering them and the capsule safe and sound. Safe and sound. Crew 9's homecoming had been ushered in by NASA and SpaceX, sending a new 4-person crew to replace them to the International Space Station over the weekend. Wilmore and Williams both notched 286 days in space. Listen to this, significantly longer than the roughly 1 week they were originally supposed to spend on the ISS. Yeah, that's significantly longer. Bro, could you imagine packing for a 1-week trip and you get stuck there for damn near a year, 286 days? Yeah, that's significantly longer. Time and space. When they arrived via Boeing's, figures it's Boeing, Starliner in June of last year. Why is Boeing making spaceships, by the way? I saw a meme some lefty posted when a couple weeks ago when Elon had 2 of his rockets explode. And people were like, this is the guy that wants to take over American jet travel. This is the guy we're going to let. Look, his rockets are exploding. He's trying to send rockets to Mars and catch them, return them, catch them, have them have no damage from re-entry, and then go back up 60 minutes later, the same rocket. You're going to lose some rockets. My State Farm rep is not going to believe this. Does renter's insurance cover Russian nukes? Probably not. I don't know. I don't know. But, yeah, he's going to take over American jet travel. Look, his rocket exploded. Shut up, you dumb freaking lefty. Anyway, he can do a better job than Boeing. Boeing, every whistleblower ends up hanging themselves mysteriously a week before they get to go to court and snitch on Boeing. What was that? What are you dinging at me for? Don't be dinging at me. Meanwhile, Haig and Gorbanov's time in space amounted to 171 days. So wait, that means after maybe Haig and Gorbanov knew that they were going to spend that much time there. It wouldn't make sense if the Americans get stuck there that you would send more people to get stuck there. I guess Haig and Gorbanov weren't stuck. They knew they were going for a long haul. They were probably sent up there to help out with the Americans. This lady don't look too American, though. She's old. Maybe she just looks super old because she was just in space for a damn year. This lady right here. That looks like J.D. Vance's wife in 50 years. NASA astronaut Suni. Her name is Suni. Oh, yeah, she Indian. Shuni Williams and Butch Wilmore. That's a good American name. Butch Wilmore. At Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Is this before they left or after? June 5th, 2024. This is before they left. We need a before and after picture. We got a before and after picture? We ain't got no after pictures yet. We'll watch a video in a second that'll have an after view. Hold on. I go to this. I need this. Nope. I need this. There we go. Okay. Fix that. With Crew 9 back on Earth and new astronauts manning the ISS, questions about how much money NASA astronauts earn while on board the orbiting research station have arisen, and whether Wilmore and Williams could have any extra pay coming their way given the extended stint in space. When NASA astronauts are aboard the International Space Station, they receive regular 40-hour workweek salaries. They do not receive overtime. That's BS. Overtime or holiday weekend pay. NASA astronauts were over $152,000 last year. A NASA webpage indicated that seems like $152K to go to space. You'd think they'd make a little more than that. But you should definitely get paid extra. Oh, yeah, they do. They get an incidentals rate. They are also on long-term TDY, temporary duty, and receive the incidentals amount for each day they are in space. Incidental expenses for travel to any location is currently $5 a day. That incidental rate would presumably equal to $1,430. So what? They get stuck in space for damn near a year and they get a stimmy check? What is that? That's nothing. You need to sue them. You need to sue Joe Biden. The pair's lengthy stay at the ISS came after NASA and Boeing ended up deciding that the Starliner that brought the pair to space would make an unmanned return to Earth in early September so that they could continue gathering testing data on the spacecraft while it traveled back, while also not accepting more risk than necessary for its crew. According to NASA, Starliner had experienced helium leaks. What's wrong with the helium leak? Everybody's just going to talk like this when they're on the spacecraft. It's not a big deal. And issues with the spacecraft reaction control thrusters. Oh, that's a problem. As it got close to the ISS during its June 2024 journey, the space agency said at the time, Wilmore, Williams, and Hague put in more than 900 hours of research while at the research station that orbits some 250 miles above Earth. We are thrilled to have Suni, Butch, Nick, and Alexander home after their months-long mission conducting vital science, technology demonstrations, and maintenance aboard the International Space Station. NASA Acting Administrator Janet Petro said in a Tuesday you gonna let a woman run the space program? Lord have mercy. Remember we sent those 2 women to space and they did the first woman spacewalk? And what happened? They lost the damn toolbox. That's what happened. You couldn't write that. You couldn't write a story like that. Reality is amazing. You couldn't write a story like that. The first women to do a spacewalk lost the toolbox. The toolbox flew off into space. Now we got space tools floating around. One day the ISS is going to be orbiting and there's going to be a freaking wrench fly through the window. And they're going to be like, that's what happens when you let women handle the tools in space. Amazing. I'm actually usually a little nervous about these returns because there's always some risk that something could go wrong, but thanks to the excellent work of SpaceX team working with NASA, the astronauts are now safely home, he said. Elon. The billionaire offered his congratulations to the SpaceX and NASA teams on their excellent work and gave a huge note of appreciation to President Trump for prioritizing and expediting their return. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt on Wednesday said that President Donald Trump looks forward to welcoming Butch and Suni to the Oval Office when they are recovered from their time in space. Trump previously told the Ingram Angle host Laura Ingraham that he wanted to meet with the astronauts after their homecoming after they had time to recuperate. They have to get better. It's going to be a little rough for them. It's not easy, you know. They were up there a long time, and when they do, they'll come to the Oval Office, he told her. Okay, let's watch a little video. A little video action. Let's check out his video. Let's see what they look like when they got back from space.
Astronauts, Dr. Charles Camarada, author of Mission Out of Control, and Scott Kidd Poteet. He piloted SpaceX's Polaris Dawn. Charles, let's start with you. We've heard a lot about the process of going from microgravity to, regular Earth life. Tell us about that, and how important was that resistance training for 2 hours a day that our astronauts did every day?
The training for 2 hours a day is very important. They have to maintain muscle mass. It helps keep the minerals in the bones so they don't leach out into the blood. And so they train for 2 or 3 hours each day. And that's why they're in as good shape as they are. That's what we've learned from the extended missions we've had to space station.
And Scott,
they got
I know
a gamer
you just
chair.
did a splashdown like Butch and Suni just did in the same area. It was wild to watch it. Everyone's talking about the dolphins. It seems like they were almost choreographed, the dolphins to the splashdown, the excitement. But what's that feeling like when you're actually hitting the water?
Captions.
But it's pretty intense. They equate it to like a small car crash as far as the impact when you hit the water. Unfortunately, ours was at night, so
I'm looking
whether
for
we
the
had
dolphins
or not, I'm not sure about that. But there's 8 locations that they select
I don't see the dolphins.
splashdown location at, and it's all based on the weather, the winds, the wave height. But it's truly extraordinary, and we all should be celebrating this accomplishment.
I'm trying to find the dolphins. Where are the dolphins?
For SpaceX, for Elon, to bring these astronauts home. So it's truly awesome.
I don't see no freaking dolphins.
To say, Charles, I was watching.
There's boats and jet skis coming up
some of the other
here.
networks coverage, because I do that. I flip around. And at one point, right in the middle of the action, when we were waiting for the...
Where's the dolphins? Dolphins are inquisitive creatures. When a dang space capsule comes down, you think a dolphin ain't going to go try to poke at it and see what's up with that? Where'd that come from?
For the astronauts to be pulled out of there. I mean, MSNBC...
Dolphins out here critically thinking.
wasn't even on it.
Oh, is
they
that?
They weren't even covering it.
No, that's the
I actually
parachute.
tweeted it out or posted on X
Parachute.
because I couldn't believe it. But this is a moment for America to celebrate. And also a big thanks to President Trump and Elon Musk for just saying, you bet, let's get him home.
We got them, boys.
Absolutely. Elon Musk
I want to see the dolphins.
saved the U.S. space program. If it wasn't for Elon Musk, we would not be able to fly U.S. astronauts from U.S. soil to the International Space Station.
I don't see any dolphins.
There's no doubt about it.
What are you talking about, Laura? I don't see these dolphins. What you talking about? What you talking about, Laura?
Stopped flying astronauts on Space Shuttle in 2011.
Anybody seen the dolphin?
And Scott,
Is that a dolphin?
we're going to have a press conference. We're going to dip into it in a few moments. But what about that? This idea that space travel at some point seemed like it was going to be beyond our reach, our capability, and yet it took a private industry with the intuitive sense and perseverance and engineering knowledge.
I can't even listen to anything they're saying because now I'm hyper focused on finding these dolphins. Thanks a lot, Laura. You know what Flipper says?
Of Musk and everyone he assembled to cut through that and say, no, we might need some government help as far as funding.
I didn't see a dolphin. That was ridiculous.
But we can't abandon what we had been doing in space. We have to keep going. Talk to that and how...
Yeah, because there's a freaking space war coming. People got freaking satellites with freaking photon lasers on their freaking heads.
Important that was and is.
Well, the vision that Elon has in SpaceX
looks like a whale face.
and all the other companies, the space economy, we're looking at a $1.8 trillion industry in less than 10 years by 2035. So it's only increasing. And the vision that Elon has provided for SpaceX to pursue, it's like almost every day we're doing launches,
All right.
Whatever. I didn't see no freaking dolphins. So that's that. Oh wait, there's a from MSNBC. Here's what MSNBC says.
Months in the making.
As NASA astronauts finally return to Earth, Trump takes the opportunity to attack Biden. Donald Trump and Elon Musk have falsely claimed that Joe Biden left Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams in space for political reasons. Well, whatever reasons, he didn't get them back. He left them there. And then he left office. Therefore, he left him there. And then Trump's doing a million things in his first month in office, but he's able to get these dang astronauts back. And Elon told Biden, I can get him back. And Biden didn't do it. He didn't want to work with Elon Musk. He didn't want to work with Elon Musk. 9-month stint on the International Space Station became political fodder for President Donald Trump's attacks on his predecessor. That's been the narrative from day one. Stranded, abandoned, and stuck. And I get it. We both get it. Wilmore told CNN in an interview in February. But that is, again, not what our human spaceflight program is about. We don't feel abandoned. We don't feel stuck. We don't feel stranded. Well, I don't care what you feel, buddy. You're supposed to be there a week. You were there for 9 months. Sounds abandoned to me. If Trump and Elon hadn't came in, you'd still be up there. You might still be up there. You might have never came home.
At the International Space Station, a new crew arriving to relieve stranded astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams. NBC's Marissa Parr has more on when those two will finally head home.
Jamming.
Yes, this is one of several moments we have all been waiting for. After roughly a 28-hour journey through space, Crew 10 has officially docked at the International Space Station. This beautiful approach shot by one of the astronauts aboard the International Space Station. The current ISS occupants, including Butch Wilmore and...
Dude, people are posting this video and they're like, it's not real. Look, it's not real. How do you know it's not real? Because it looks like a video game? What do you think it looks like? What would it look like? We don't know what it would look like.
Suni Williams, who we've talked
so much
about,
that.
welcoming the team on board as the hatch opened, and 2 NASA astronauts, 1 Japanese JAXA astronaut, and a Russian cosmonaut floated on in. For 2 of those crew members, this is their very first trip to the International Space Station, their first time experiencing zero.
I know the space deniers are like looking for wires in this picture. They're like, where are the wires? Where are the wires?
Gravity. This is their relief, allowing them to return to Earth in just a few days after that handover process, of course. And just a note, when we talk about the extended stays in...
All right, whatever. I already know all about it. I already know about it. Everyone's hyper focused on what Trump hasn't accomplished yet in these 2 months he's been in office. Yeah. Yeah, basically. Not focusing on what he's doing. Or when he does good stuff, they complain about it. He said he was going to cut federal funding. He was going to cut some of the fat in the government. And then he does it, and people are like, oh my God, he's cutting jobs in the government. What are we going to do? The lefties who hate the government, they want anarchy. You ask an anarchist, what do you mean by anarchy? What do you think we should do? Well, I think we need to gut the government. We need to tear down the government and rebuild it from the ground up. Then the next logical question is, isn't Trump kind of doing that? Isn't Elon kind of doing that? Isn't that what you want? No. We don't want them to do it. We want us to do it. Oh, okay. Right. You don't want government. You want no government. All government is bad government. No government. And then when the people get in there and start gutting the government, you get butthurt about it. Retards. They're rewarded. What up, King? What up, producer? The producer. You live on the ocean. Do you live on the Gulf of America, producer? You're in Georgia. Are you Gulf side or Atlantic side? Do you live in the Gulf of America now? Did you see the spaceship return? All right. Should Boeing's formerly stranded astronauts have been home sooner from the Hill? Yeah, they should have been home in a week. Space Odyssey of Williams and Williamer, June 5th, 2023. United launch, blah, blah, blah. Starliner experienced helium leaks and thruster problems. NASA decided the Crew 9 expedition ISS would consist of an American astronaut, Nick Hague, and a Russian cosmonaut, Alexander Gorbanov. Instead of the usual 4 crew members, Williams and Wilmer would in effect become part of the crew rotation, would return to Earth when Hague and Gorbanov did. For almost the next 6 months, performed experiments. In the meantime, tumultuous political events happened on Earth. President Joe Biden, well, where else would they happen? Dropped out of the 2024 race. Then President Trump defeated Vice President Kamala Harris. There followed a rather bizarre controversy. Did the Biden administration deliberately abandon Williams and Wilmore, passing up an opportunity to bring them home early? The brouhaha started in January when Elon Musk announced on X that Trump had given him instructions to rescue the 2 astronauts. So the Hill's going to say that this is all nonsense, I'm sure. Later, Trump said, I have just asked Elon Musk and SpaceX to go get the 2 brave astronauts who have been virtually abandoned in space by the Biden administration. They've been waiting for many months on space station. Elon will soon be on his way. Hopefully, all will be safe. Good luck, Elon. Eric Berger, writing for Ars Technica, noted that the astronauts' ride home, a Crew Dragon docked at the ISS, was always available. He could find no evidence that the decision to assign Williams and Wilmore to a multi-month stay on ISS went above then NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. They replaced Bill with a dang woman. That's what happened. Musk stirred the pot further when he suggested on an episode of Hannity that the 2 astronauts were left on ISS for political reasons. European astronaut Andreas Morgensen suggested that was a lie. Musk offered an ill-considered middle school retort calling Morgensen retarded. Nice. You're a retard, Morgensen. Just to confuse matters more, during a press conference from the ISS, dude, Elon's on my Antichrist watch list, but he's also funny than a mug. I'm on a lake north of Atlanta. Oh. What? A lake? That don't even count. That don't count as boat life. I didn't know you were on a lake. I thought you were on a dang Gulf of America. Biden's going to be like, I know. I told Elon to go, but Trump. Some media are referring to the launch of the Crew 10 and the subsequent return of Crew 9, including Williams and Wilmore, as a rescue mission. The meme of the stranded astronauts being rescued by Musk has taken hold. Musk was quick to post a video on X of the 2 astronauts thanking him and Trump for their ride home. Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore are home at last, which they would not be if not for Musk and SpaceX. They are getting reacquainted with the environment that has gravity, up and down, blue skies, and green grass. An interesting chapter in their life. They still have up and down on the spaceship. It's just becomes subjective at that point. Down is your feet. Up is your top of your head. Right? But your down could be not my down. Duh. Up is when you look this way. Down is when you look this way. Space doesn't change that. Okay. Enough space talk. I want to see what mainstream media is saying about these JFK files. I watched a couple hours worth of stuff about this last night. Charlie Kirk had Roger Stone on. I want to read his book. Forget what it's called. It's called The Man Who Killed Kennedy, The Case Against Lyndon Baines Johnson. I think the more I hear about this LBJ guy, I think he's the worst president in American history. I don't know. Maybe there's some other ones I never even heard of. I don't know. I don't know much about Grover Cleveland. But I know this LBJ guy seems like a real jerk. The Model Cities program. That's when we got the welfare state and the civil rights movement and all that bull crap. And all the fathers were taken out of the home. He destroyed the black community. He's the one that said, I'm going to keep those Negroes in chains for 500 years or something like that. And apparently, he murdered a guy. Apparently, he told, I think who was it? Was it Nixon or Reagan or one of them? He told somebody who was running for president, and there's a recording of this. The guy said, me and Johnson both wanted to be president, but I wasn't willing to kill for it. LBJ was vice president, riding in the car behind Kennedy, and he ducked before the first bullet was fired. That's what Roger Stone said, at least. So I want to read Roger Stone's book. It sounds likely. Sounds likely. Why is this important? Because these documents could prove what all the conspiracy nuts have been saying the whole time, that the government doesn't care about you. The government will straight up murder the president. The CIA will murder the president if they don't like them. There's a lot of ties to this Lee Harvey Oswald character that are very similar to the two attempts on Trump's life. There's a documentary from Paramount Plus that I watched a couple of months ago. Really good documentary. It's called What the Doctors Saw, or What They Saw, something like that. What They Saw, or What the Doctors Saw. And it's about the doctors at the Dallas hospital when JFK got shot and they brought him into the hospital, and they're like operating on him. They said there was a grapefruit-sized hole blown out of the back of his head and an entry wound on the front, which would mess up the single shooter theory about Oswald being in the book depository behind him. They said the bullet entry wound was from his neck, I think. It was from his neck, and it came out the dang head. That's a low angle in a car. And the mafia said they had somebody in the sewer, and a witness said they seen somebody in the sewer. And another witness said they saw somebody up on the grassy knoll. Roger Stone said there was as many as four shooters, none of which were Lee Harvey Oswald. That there was another guy up in the book depository, and people saw him up there, and he matched a description of a guy who was arrested later for murdering a guy. There are those who still believe in the single bullet theory. Well, that's because the CIA made up the term conspiracy theorist to debunk this because of JFK, because people started asking very logical questions. So what they did was, in order to cover up their mistakes and not have it exposed, they said, we're going to besmirch these damn truth seekers, these truth finders. We're going to besmirch them. We're going to give them a label. And we're going to make it the popular new label for whenever somebody tells you don't get the jab, people are going to end up dead. We got a new research on that in rapid fire news. Turns out a lot of people are ending up dead. It's crazy. We'll call them conspiracy nuts. We'll call them conspiracy theorists. I feel like it's an honor if some Democrat calls me a conspiracy theorist. If I say something on the internet and people are like, you're just a crazy conspiracy theorist, I feel like it's an honor. I think people who call people like me that are probably morons, and they're probably blind, because us crazy conspiracy theorists seem to be right an awful lot of the time. Turns out we're awfully right. You know what one of the conspiracy theories is that in order to remove God from the world, they tell us the earth is 45 billion years old and that people never walked with dinosaurs. Conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory, y'all. And what do we know about conspiracy theories? They're usually right. Unless they're fake conspiracy theories like flat earth or there's no space. That's not a real conspiracy theory. That's a conspiracy theory. That's an op. So that the conspiracy theories believe in fake conspiracy theories, and then when they're telling the truth, 90% of the time, that 10% of the time when they believe in the gobbledygook, turns out they're wrong. But dinosaurs is not one of those. Because now people are saying dinosaurs never even existed. The conspiracy theorists. They're believing fake conspiracy theories designed to discredit the real conspiracy theories. Earth turned 2,025 years old a few months ago. No, there's BC. There's still BC. I'm not saying BCE. It's BC. But let's read what the mainstream media is saying about the JFK fizzles. JFK fizzly dizzlies. The National Archives on Tuesday released thousands of pages of 80,000 documents. 80,000 documents. I usually don't smoke during the Monday night show, but I'm having a hankering. The National Archives on Tuesday released thousands of pages of declassified records related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in 1963. I read a book from Stephen King called, what's it called? Like 11/27/63 or something like that, whatever day it was. Really good book. The records were posted to the National Archives website, but it's a really good book, but Stephen King's liberal ass writes the book as if, what's his name? Oswald was actually the shooter. So the book is written as if Oswald is really the shooter. The records were posted to the National Archives website, joining recently released records posted in 2023, 2022, 2021, 2017, and 2018. Most of what the government released tonight is not new. In fact, much of what has attracted attention on social media and in news reports has long been in the public domain, except for minor redactions, such as the blacking out of personally identifiable information of CIA sources or employees, including names and addresses, which have now been disclosed. But the newly declassified version of these documents also shed light on granular details of mid-20th century espionage that the CIA had fiercely fought to keep secret. President Biden and President Trump had accepted those arguments until now. Yeah, one of the big takeaways is that the CIA was watching Oswald for like 4 years. There was a CIA operative that was actually working with Oswald. So and some people say he was not a good shot, but he did have his like shooting. Oswald isn't a real name. Well, is not spelled that way. I tell flat Earth people it's atmosphere, not atmos-flat. They say he wasn't a good shot, but he did have his like target license or something. I forget what it's called. And then some other people will say, but it's not really a hard shot. Like, it's a good angle. The car's moving in line with you. A convertible car moving slowly. It's not a hard shot. But then other people will argue that it is a hard shot and that Oswald wasn't a good shot. But it's very similar to the Trump thing. Like, the best seat in the house to take this shot is just totally unsupervised. Nobody cares about it. And then with the Trump shooter, they hosed down the roof after they took homeboy off the roof dead. They hosed down the roof. They cleaned it up. They knew for a long time that he was up on that roof and nobody did anything about it. Very similar to this. If Oswald was the shooter, you were watching Oswald for 4 years. According to these new documents. And what else is interesting in that documentary, when Texas has a law that if somebody get in a homicide, you have to do an autopsy like very quickly on the body and before it can leave the hospital. But the feds and the CIA showed up, and at point of gun, they pointed guns at the doctors and they took the body. And then there's a story about Air Force One had a casket on it, and they flew Air Force One to the where they did the Warren report from the other hospital. I forget what it's called. But the theory is that he wasn't on that plane. He was on Air Force 2, and his brain disappeared. His freaking brain disappeared. And the pictures that they took, they like fixed his head. The pictures they took at the second hospital where they did the autopsy and all that stuff, the government facility, his head was magically fixed, but his brain was missing. And the doctors from the Dallas hospital in that documentary, they're like, that is not what his head looked like when we saw him. The whole back of his head was blown out. But in the pictures, his head's not blown out. And they said, well, the bullet actually did this. And the bullet went in, and the single bullet went in here from the back, and it came out here. And then it traveled to the left and hit his the dude next to him in the arm. And then it went into the chair. They shot a chair, boys. They shot a chair. These chair haters. With one bullet. Epstein did it? I don't know about all that. Let's just watch this. I don't want to read all this. Let's see what this lady's saying. What's she talking about?
John F. Kennedy's assassination. President Trump announced the impending release last night, causing attorneys within the Justice Department to stay up all night to assist with the declassification process. Now, this is a small tranche from the more than 6 million pages of records in the National Archives collection. The majority have already been declassified over the years and are available online. Joining us now from Washington is ABC's Terry Moran. Terry, great to see you. So within days of coming into office, President Trump said he would declassify these documents. Are we expecting to learn anything that would question what was already established by the Warren?
You wouldn't tell us anyway, lady. You're some Warren Commission shill.
Commission report?
Stephanie, the short answer is no.
Shut up. That's not what other people are saying. Other people are saying there's bombshells in here.
The Warren Commission concluded that...
Well, of course, ABC, MSNBC, there's nothing new in here. Don't worry about it, guys. There's nothing new in here. It's just 6 million pages. It's just 80,000 new documents. Well, not new, but 80,000 documents. Don't worry about it. There's nothing in there. Don't look through it. Don't look through all that.
Lee Oswald was the lone gunman and killed President Kennedy in a fit of anger and rage and his own darkness. And that has, for all the speculation and all the
And just like Ryan Ruth, the guy from Miami who had the gun, the poor guy, he was poor, but he had a nice gun. He had a nice new whip. He had like 17 passports. What do they have in common? They both went to Russia recently.
Tantalizing clues in that amazing movie by Oliver Stone, JFK, suggesting wider conspiracies. All these documents really haven't. These were documents that had been withheld, 80,000 of them. Our team is still going through them, so we could find a bombshell. But
I don't need your team to go through them. I want to go through. I'm not going through 80,000 documents. I'm not going through no 6 million pages.
Right now, what we're mostly...
And isn't this interesting? Here's an interesting fact. There's no search function. So if you hit Control F or whatever it is, I always forget hotkeys, but whatever the search function is on websites so that you can just look up a word and skip to that word, it doesn't work on the documents. So you actually have to read through all of it. And reading's hard.
And the CIA didn't want to release some of this, is the surveillance. The CIA was surveilling Lee
Move
Harvey
along,
Oswald
people. Nothing to see
on his
here.
trips to Mexico. He was in Finland. He was only 24 when he was killed, so he got around. He had defected.
Yeah, and the mafia conveniently killed Oswald. Huh. And Michael Franzen on Piers Morgan said he knew mafia people who were involved. And there's more to it. The mafia might have been working with dang old Lyndon. I think I'm with the Lyndon Johnson got him killed theory.
To Russia, there were a lot of reasons that they...
Because Lyndon Baines Johnson was a real jerk. Worst president in American history. I'll say it.
The FBI and the CIA were following him, and the CIA never told the FBI or the Secret Service about him, and that was a problem. Then tried to cover that up for years. So there's malfeasance in government, but is there another shooter? Is there a puppeteer who was manipulating Lee Oswald? At this point, there's no...
Yeah, the CIA at the will of Lyndon Baines Johnson like and the mafia.
He was a very familiar American figure.
In the small hats.
A young... broken, lonely man
Jack
whose life
Ruby
was coming apart, who had dreams of
glory.
That's
the guy's name. Yeah.
Terry,
That's the guy's name.
Why has the president made such a big deal about the release of these documents?
That's a great question, Stephanie. You know, like so many in his generation, he's been fascinated by it for a long time. He never believed.
Jack Ruby, the mafia guy that killed Oswald. He's a small hat. Yeah, he's the one who murdered Lee Harvey Oswald. Dude, why do they say Jack Ruby was Jewish-born Jacob Rubenstein?
The official version, the Warren Commission version, that Oswald acted alone. And I think there's something bigger. I think that President Trump sees himself as someone who is coming to represent the people who don't trust the government, who just don't trust it anymore, who thinks there's malfeasance and conspiracies within the government. And I think one of this is a symbol of his determination to change the nature of the government so that his people, anyway, and he hopes all people, I'm sure, trust the government again. It's just a gesture, not an insignificant one. 80,000 pages. The CIA didn't want them released. It does make the government look bad in some ways. So far, no evidence that it changes the historical understanding of who killed JFK. Stephanie.
And we'll see if it changes the president's perspective at all. As you mentioned, 80,000 pages released. Terry, thank you so much for your time.
No, 80,000 documents released. She said 6 million pages.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm.
So, yeah, that's that. I've never went super deep into the JFK stuff. I've just watched a couple movies, a couple docs, you know. But that What the Doctors Saw was a really good documentary. And a lot of people have been talking about it. And it really makes you question some things. If what these doctors are saying is true, it really makes you question some things, because they say there's no way. The doctors who saw him first after he got shot, the whole team of doctors who first saw him, they said there's no way he got shot from the back. They said he got shot from the front, it hit him in the neck, and it blew out the whole back of his head. And that when they took him to the next hospital, his head was magically repaired. Kevin Costner said, "Not to forget your dying king." I don't know what that means, but cool. So here's the... Oh, shoot. I just closed it. Hold on. Let me reopen it. I got to find it in my bookmarks. I only have 10 million files in my bookmarks. I got the dang JFK report in my bookmarks. I got the National Archives here. So this is the National Archives website. March 18th, 2025 release. In accordance with President Donald Trump's directive of March 17th, 2025, all records previously withheld for classification that are part of the President John F. Kennedy assassination records collection are released. The National Archives has partnered with agencies across the federal government to comply with the President's directive in support of Executive Order 14176. As of March 8th, don't get no gematria people in here. They're going to figure out, oh, I predicted this. As of March 18, 2025, the records are available to access either online at this page or in person via hard copy or on analog media formats at the National Archives at College Park, Maryland. As the records continue to be digitized, they will be posted on this page. They're not even all up yet because there's so much. In an effort to maximize transparency, these records were released without redactions, and some of these records contain the personal identification information of living individuals. The National Archives and Records Administration and the Social Security Administration are working closely together to protect the individuals who may be affected from their information being exploited. NARA has begun the process of identifying and will be contacting individuals whose personal identification information are included in the records. However, those who believe they may be affected should contact the National Archives at jafkrecords.nara.gov. So here they are. 235 pages of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's 2,350 released so far. Only 77,000 more to go. They're not even all uploaded yet. But you can go through all of them. Let's just pick a random one and take a look. Take a look, see. At 0900 this morning, memo for the record, I talked with Frank Fridberg, recently returned COS Helsinki Re-Warren Commission, inquiring concerning the timetable of Oswald's stay in Finland in October 1959, including his contact with the Soviet consulate there. Fridberg gave me the following information. It takes 25 minutes to drive from the airport to downtown Helsinki. By taxi, it would take no more than 5 minutes to reach the Soviet consulate. The Soviet consulate probably closed at 1300 hours local time, 6 on Saturdays in 1959. Passenger list manifests in the U.S. consulate to Helsinki. Lee Wigrin. So lots of documents to go through. I'm going to let other people with teams do the work. But it's all in the National Archives. You can take a look, see for yourself. Let's skip to a random page and take a look at something. Beckman Gunner. Beckman Nilsson. Not seeing a lot of redactions. I believe there still are some redactions, though. But look, we got Tadatoshi Izumoto. We got little notes. JFK Assassination System Identification Form. Covert Operations. What if I just clicked on a random one and we found the bombshell randomly? Memorandum Board Panel on Covert Action Operations. During the course of its meeting, Panel was briefed by Richard Helms and his assistants. The anti-Jagan Trade Union Congress maintained a general strike which was directed against the Jagan regime and had wide support among agrarian and industrial workers in the protests against the oppressive labor bill proposed by communist-oriented Jagan. CIA worked with George Meany, a program of CIA financial support, $43,000 to the strike under the cover of AFL-CIA contributions. See, this is interesting, but to read all of this would take a while. August 20th saw the temple raids, martial law, and then the arrest of students. One U.S. reaction was on August 24th. Cablegram from the State Department, presumably hastily prepared, which in nice diplomatic language to State Department representatives in Saigon gave the word to unload the news, i.e. indicate the anti-Diem plotters among the generals that they should get moving. However, the generals proved to be lacking in any intention to pursue their previously professed anti-Diem sentiments. CIA considers that the August 24th State Department's cable roads were a miscalculation. General's true capabilities and intentions. CIA understands the subsequently executive. Anyway, so just showing you where you can find them in the National Archives. Hold on one second. Oh, yeah, and we're going to talk about another thing, kind of maybe relating to this, maybe not. Let me read this real quick from AP. The Associated Poo-Poo. Subjective language is sus. Those are PDFs, probably multiple pages. Well, no, I know, but it's 80,000 documents. They've only released 2,000 of them. It's 6 million pages in total. I think that's what she said. Which means some of them, I don't think it's 80,000 pages. It's 80,000 documents. Some of those documents are probably like lots of pages. Or Air America, they used to make movies about this stuff all the time. Mel Gibson and Robert Downey Jr. flying guns and drugs for the CIA in Vietnam. Barry Seal did the same thing in Colombia. 10 years later, Barry Seal is the name of the guy that Tom Cruise played in American. I forget what the movie was called. It was called like American Hustle or something like that. Tom Cruise played that guy. And then that's where they were dropping drugs in over Central America. They were just dropping drugs out of the plane. And that's where the Kids on the Tracks conspiracy theory comes from. 2 kids were walking along the train tracks and they found some drugs on the train tracks and they ended up getting killed by the local police in Arkansas who were coming to pick up the drugs. And the coroner said that they got hit by a train, and turned out the coroner was crooked as a mug. The judge, the whole lab, the whole police force, they were all crooked as a mug. And guess who was governor of Arkansas at the time that all this stuff happened? Bill Clinton. He murdered a guy. Bill Clinton and George Bush, sir. It's all connected. Yeah. Yep. That's a deep one. We've talked about that before. That episode probably damn near got me knocked off. We've done a deep dive into the Kids on the Tracks. I think she misspoke. I've heard 6 million pages, but some of those PDFs may be huge. Either way, I'm skeptical that anything good will be released because the world is different now and would only cause more chaos. Yeah. Yeah, but they've said that they're not all released yet. They haven't even had time to upload all of them. Or it's taken a lot of time to upload all of them, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but they probably have to go through and fix everything. Let's see what AP is saying. Sensitive personal information, including social security numbers, was revealed in newly unredacted John F. Kennedy assassination documents released this week, and that is not sitting well with the people affected. Of course, AP is going to talk about how, the CIA got their feelings hurt because they covered up the murder of a president, and now their social security numbers are released. Joseph DeGenova, a former campaign lawyer for President Donald Trump, was among those whose personal information was disclosed. He said he is planning to sue the U.S. National Archives and Records Administration for violating privacy laws over concerns about identity theft. It should not have happened, DeGenova said in a phone interview Thursday. I think it's the result of incompetent people doing the reviewing. I don't believe it had anything to do with rushing the process. The people who reviewed these documents did not do their job. I think they did exactly their job. For once, finally. Just the fact that people are pissed off about this. I mean, that's, to be fair, I kind of get it. Like, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't be releasing their social security numbers, but if you were involved in a cover-up of a president being killed, maybe you should have your social security number released. But we don't know what this person's complicity was in the matter. So, like, maybe this is bad that they put out all these people's socials. I guess that could be a bad thing. But you know, you playing with the government, you work for the people. You know, if I work for McDonald's, I got to give my manager my social security number. I got to give McDonald's my social security number to work for McDonald's. Well, who do you work for when you work for the government? You work for me. So that means I get to know your social security number. You work for the damn CIA and you're worried about having your identity stolen? You're the one stealing people's identities. Like, come on. Sorry. Requesting help in Benghazi and how they were either ignored or given empty promises. Can't find them now. Oh, yeah. All that's been redacted, Rome. We've been redacted. Officials at the White House said Thursday that a plan was in place to help those whose personal information was disclosed, including credit monitoring offered by the National Archives, until new social security numbers are issued. You can get a new social security number? Officials also said they are still screening the records to identify all the social security numbers that were released. President Trump delivered on his promise of maximum transparency by fully releasing the files relating to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said in a statement, at the request of the White House, the National Archives and the Social Security Administration immediately put together an action plan to proactively help individuals whose personal information was released in the files. They're going to get new Social Security numbers. In an effort to maximize transparency, these records were released without redactions, and some of these records contain the personal identification information of living individuals. The National Archives and Records Administration and the Social Security Administration are working closely together to protect the individuals who may be affected from their information being exploited. Statement also said that while the National Archives will be contacting people whose personal information was disclosed, it urged those people to contact the National Archives. Neither the White House nor the National Archives explained the decision-making process behind the public release of personal information. Trump ordered the release of the remaining classified files relating to the 1963 assassination shortly after being sworn into office. About 2,200 files consisting of over 63,000 pages were posted on the National Archives website. On Tuesday evening, many of those pages revealed what had previously been redacted. Yeah, see, so they've only released 2,200 so far. There's 80,000 total. It's going to take a while before we get all of them. The vast majority of the National Archives, more than 6 million pages, records, photographs, motion pictures, sound recordings, and artifacts relating to the assassination had previously been released. So maybe the 2,200 they released were just the new stuff. Because if on that webpage, if you scroll down, it says 2017 release, 2018 release, 2020 release, 2021 release. So maybe if you go through all those years in total, it's 80,000. These are 2,200 new things that we hadn't already had. But I did hear from somebody that they're not all uploaded yet. They didn't additionally lend credence to conspiracy theories. The National Archives posted assessments of newly released documents on its website, but noted that there wasn't enough time as of Wednesday to review more than a small fraction of them. The documents released this week provided more details of covert Cold War era. I mean, how long can it take? You guys got so many employees, 2,200 documents. Just put 220 people on the job and have them each read 10 documents for homework. They should be able to knock that out in a couple days. One of the newly unredacted documents, for example, discloses the social security numbers of more than 24 people seeking security clearance in the 1990s to review JFK-related documents for the Assassination Records Review Board. Yeah, see, so that could be a problem if some of these people were just trying to read the documents. And since they applied to read the documents, they had to give their social security number. And now their social security numbers are released. And that I could see how that's a problem. I'm sure some of these people had nothing to do with any sort of cover up or government ops or anything like that. And if they get their socials released, and they're still alive, that could be a problem. But now they get new social security numbers, so they'd be all right. Gerald Posner, author of Case Closed, which concludes that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman, said the documents release was rushed, echoing what other researchers believe. Good, rush it. What do you mean rushed? It's been 60 years. I know that people will probably shake their head if they hear that, because how could they be rushing in after 62 years? That's what I just said. He said Thursday. It's a lot of documents. It's a lot of files. The archives in the past has provided a sort of search guide. So if I want to find James Jesus Angleton, for instance, James Angleton, that was the guy that was working with Lee Harvey Oswald. I could do a search and find all the documents he's in, and then I can see what's different from the last release. This time they didn't have that. Yeah, there's no search function. Angleton was the CIA's counterintelligence chief from 1954 to 1974. The National Archives began screening the documents on Wednesday to identify all the Social Security numbers. National Archives will share those numbers with Social Security Administration, which will identify the people who are living and issue them new numbers, according to the White House. Kennedy was killed on a visit to Dallas, blah, blah, blah. Shots rang out from the school Texas book depository. Witnesses say that there was somebody with a long gun on the grassy knoll. Police arrested the 24-year-old Oswald, a former Marine who had positioned himself from a sniper's perch on the 6th floor. 2 days later, Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner, Jacob Rubenstein, a nightclub owner, fatally shot Oswald during a jail transfer that was broadcast live on television. Of course they're going to broadcast it live on television. We need Americans to see what we want them to see. Interesting. So the day after that happened, this is a little side story. I almost put this in rapid fire news, and I have not seen the resolution of this yet. But when I was streaming Friday night, I sent you guys to JLR Investigates, and he was covering this. And I haven't heard or seen much talk about it from anybody. But this is the day after the next morning after the JFK files were released. Man in custody after armed police swarm CIA headquarters over a barricade incident. At the time, it was being called an active shooter. Now they're calling it a barricade incident. Which is probably, you know how they mess with language to make us, they change things around. Instead of, how they'll say, like, young party goers shoot up a nightclub, instead of calling them other things, instead of calling them gangbangers, they'll call them young party goers. Washington, instead of calling it an active shooting in the CIA headquarters, they'll call it a barricade incident. Washington, a man was taken into custody after armed police swarmed the Federal Central Intelligence Agency headquarters on Wednesday, according to multiple news outlets. The Fairfax County, Virginia Police Department did not immediately respond to a query from USA Today. Heavily armed police rushed to respond to a barricade incident, quote unquote, at the headquarters of the CIA in McLean, Virginia on Wednesday, shutting down the road outside in both directions. Wednesday. No, JLR was showing this on Saturday morning. Is that right? Or oh no, it wasn't after the Friday stream. It was after one of the Bible streams. Okay, so this was Wednesday. This happened. Okay. I was thinking it was Saturday because I sent you to JLR Investigates after one of the Bible shows. So this was Wednesday this happened. Shutting down the road outside in both directions. But the The files were released on like Monday or Tuesday. And so it was odd that this happened right after they released the JFK stuff. Somebody goes up in the CIA headquarters. Heavily armed police rushed to respond to a barricade incident. The incident began shortly after 10 a.m., according to Fairfax County Police Department post on X alerting motorists to a road closure. CIA issued a statement at about 1:24. There is an ongoing incident that law enforcement is currently responding to outside CIA headquarters. Fairfax police said no reports of shots fired had come over the radio. Some news stations reported an armed man experiencing a mental health crisis in the area earlier. Let's see the video. So they're not giving us a lot of details on this. This music is going to be copyright. Let me turn off the music. Heavily armed police responded to an incident at the CIA headquarters. CIA issued a statement confirming law enforcement was responding to the incident. Fairfax police said no reports of shots fired came over the radio. Oh, that dude's dead. I guarantee you that this dude's dead. Fairfax County Special Operations Division was assisting on the scene. Yeah, that dude, he gone. Ain't no sense praying for him no more. He gone. Suspect surrenders after barricade incident near CIA headquarters. I don't know. Are you going to name him? Police say the suspect in a barricade incident at CIA headquarters in McLean, Virginia, has surrendered. Authorities said an armed man was initially seen in the area Wednesday morning. Amid a massive response by authorities, the CIA spokesperson shared the following statement. There's an ongoing incident that law enforcement is currently responding to. Additional details will be made available as appropriate. 24 marked and unmarked police vehicles helping build a wide perimeter, at least a block long in both directions. Special Operations Division was on the scene and remained there into the afternoon. No additional information was immediately available. Yeah, something tells me this dude gone. They're not telling us his name. They're not giving us any details. So this is
right now. Fairfax County Police are say that there's an armed man near CIA headquarters in McLean. That's where we find DC News Now's Randy Bass.
Got some nostrils
Randy, what
on
can
him.
you tell us?
Yeah, Mark, this is a very fluid scene, very fluid situation here. Incredibly active still at this hour. We understand crews have been here working this incident, this armed barricade incident, they are calling it, for at least an hour now. You've got Fairfax County Special Operations here on scene. You've also got CIA police on scene. Going to step out of the way here, let you see exactly what we are seeing here at the intersection of Dolly Madison Boulevard and Georgetown Pike. Typically a very busy intersection and road here.
Anyway, they're not releasing a lot of information on that, which is fishy. It seems fishy. Something seems fishy about that. I don't know. A little update on what we talked about last week with the gangbangers, the Tren de Aragua and the MS-13 gangbangers being mass deported to the El Salvadorian prison. Lefties are crying. Lefties are mad because Trump is doing what he said he was going to do, and he's deporting all the illegals, the gang members that were. We've talked about Tren de Aragua. We've talked about the apartment complexes being taken over in Chicago and Aurora, and sightings in Florida, Texas. I'm sure they're all over California and New York as well. And now they've been doing these ICE raids. We had ICE raids here in Salt Lake City. They've been doing these ICE raids, and they're grabbing up the criminals. And these are known criminals because they go to sanctuary cities, commit crimes, and they just get released. And when ICE came in and said, hey, we'd like the local police to work with us. We know you know who these people are. We know you know where they are. Come with us, give us the warrants, and let us go into their houses and get them. And the local authorities said, no, we're not going to work with you, ICE. We're a sanctuary city. We protect our illegal alien criminals. And I said, well, that means we're going to have to take them in public, and it's going to be more dangerous to the public. We saw that Haitian guy getting thrown in a car saying, F Donald Trump, shout out Joe Biden and Obama. You know, if the local authorities would have helped ICE get these people, then they wouldn't have to be taken in public, and it's much safer. And now they're complaining because they're taking gangbangers. And what happens is they're going after the most dangerous ones first. They're going after the known criminals first. But what happens is when they go up in a house, or the person's at a park, their target is at a park, and he happens to be with his family, and they're all illegal immigrants, they take all of them. So, because guess what? Just by being here, you all broke a law. And they wouldn't have come after all of you. They weren't coming after all of you. But you're hanging out with a rapist or a thief or a murderer in some cases. And you're all illegal. So we're going to take all of you. If you weren't harboring, well, you're all fugitives. You're all criminals. It's 8 U.S. Code 1325. Also known as the improper entry by alien, makes it a criminal offense to enter or attempt to enter the United States improperly, including entering at an unauthorized time or place, avoiding inspection, or making false statements. So all of you have broken U.S. code. You're all here illegally. That's a crime. And if you're hanging out with this guy who we're targeting, when we show up, we're going to take all of you. And now the lefties are mad. Listen to this. Nazis from ABC News. Nazis got better treatment. Judge says of Trump administration's Alien Enemies Act deportations. An appeals court is hearing arguments over the use of the Alien Enemies Act. Now, I have an article here about Tom Homan saying, we're going to respect this judge's order for now. We're not going to keep deporting them because this judge is trying to block it. But they complain about the death of democracy. How about the death of democracy is when you're flooding cities with illegal aliens who are criminals, when you're releasing them from the Venezuelan prison, and then they're jumping on trains, and we're watching this happen, and then they're coming, and they're getting put up in hotels in New York, they're getting put up in hotels in Chicago, they're getting put up in hotels in California, they're getting more benefits than American citizens, and they're committing crimes, and they're hurting people, and you're not doing anything about it. Then you install Kamala Harris as your candidate, unelected. She did the worst in the primaries, and you're going to put her in there. Who's the one killing democracy? Who's the one causing the death to democracy? It's not us. It's you, Democrats. That's the death of democracy. And now, when we're trying to fix the problem and get the illegals out, some Democrat judge is going to block it. Who's causing the death to democracy? I see these protesters with these signs that says, we need to save democracy. Y'all are the ones killing democracy. What are you talking about? We voted for this. We voted that we don't want these people here. They're criminals. They were released from jails, and they crossed 3 countries to get here illegally. Democratically voted Trump ran on getting them out, and now he's doing what we wanted him to do. And you're bitching about the death to democracy, and your judges are stopping him from doing it. Same thing that happened in the first Trump presidency. These whack-ass judges in these courts trying to block him from doing what we elected him to do. That's the death to democracy. These Democrats are retarded hypocrites. Nazis get better treatment, judge says. The United States treated alleged Nazis better during World War II than the Trump administration treated Venezuelan migrants last week, a federal appeals judge told a Justice Department lawyer during a court hearing Monday. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit heard arguments Monday afternoon over the Trump administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act last week to deport more than 200 alleged members of Venezuelan gang to El Salvador with no due process. There were plane loads of people. There were no procedures in place to notify. Give them due process when they get to freaking jail in El Salvador. They broke the law by coming here. So send them to jail in South America, and then they can have due process there. They're processing them. They'll get processed there. Why do we need to process? Why do our taxpayer dollars need to pay to process all these people? Just get them out. Process them there. The U.S. Court of Appeal, there were plane loads of people. There were no procedures in place to notify people. Who are we going to notify? The gang leader? Judge Patricia Millett said Nazis got better treatment. Patricia Millett. So it's a woman, Judge. She's a Democrat. Shocker. Shocker. Let's see. Let me see. I'm thinking something. I'm not going to say it. We're going to look first. No, her name's Patricia. Patricia Millett. She probably white. Oh, she white. Oh, she a Democrat. I could tell by the haircut. District of Columbia Circuit Judge. Oh, this crazy lady. This is what happens when you give a woman a law degree. Oh, this crazy bird. Crazy bird. Judge Millett noted that alleged Nazis were given hearing boards and were subject to established regulations, while the alleged members of Tren de Aragua were given no such rights. You don't get rights. You're here illegally. There's no regulations, and nothing was adopted by the agency officials that were administering this. Come on, get an editor, ABC. The people weren't given notice. They weren't told where they were going. They were given those people on those planes on that Saturday and had no opportunity to file habeas or any type of action to challenge the removal under the AEA. Judge Millett said, "What's factually wrong about what I said?" Well, nothing's factually wrong, except the problem is, who cares? They shouldn't get any of those things. They're illegals. Well, Your Honor, we certainly dispute the Nazi analogy, Deputy Assistant Attorney General Drew Ensign said, arguing some of the men were able to file habeas petitions. Trump administration has asked the Court of Appeals to overturn a temporary restraining order issued last Saturday by U.S. District Judge James Bosenberg, who blocked the government use of the Alien Enemies Act for deportation. And they're saying that she did this order and they still went ahead and transported them anyway. She did the order while the plane was in the air. We're not going to turn the plane around and bring them back. But they have so Homan, Trump's border czar, says the administration won't defy the judge's order on deportation flights. But he said he doesn't care what the judges think of the Alien Enemies Act. So temporarily, I think they've stopped doing it. But they're gonna push through and get it done. Tom Homan, President Donald Trump's border czar, vowed Sunday that the Trump administration would not defy court orders stemming from legal challenges over its invocation of the Wartime Alien Enemies Act to deport undocumented enemies from the United States. For the past week, a federal judge in Washington, James Bosenberg, has tried to determine whether the Trump administration ignored an earlier order to temporarily halt deportation flights under the Alien Enemies Act when it flew Venezuelan, blah, blah, blah. According to Homan, all those sent to El Salvador were known gang members, and he claimed most were members of Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang that the Trump administration has labeled a terrorist organization. That plane removed 240 terrorists from the United States. But family members of some of those flown to El Salvador insist they had no affiliation with any gang. Bullshit. And on Sunday, Homan refused to provide any specific information supporting the Trump administration's claim. Let's see what Homan's saying.
I'm joined now by the Trump administration's border czar, Tom Homan. Mr. Homan, thank you very much for joining us. I want to start with something you said last week that caused a big stir. You said, I quote, "I don't care what judges think." Now, I know you have since said that the administration will abide by court
definitely
orders.
white.
We heard Donald Trump say the same thing. So what do you mean when you say, "I don't care what judges think"?
No, I don't care what that judges think as far as this case. We're going to continue to arrest.
I don't care what that judge thinks.
We're going to continue to deport them from the United States. I understand this case is in litigation through the Alien Enemies Act, and we'll abide by the court order as litigated. But my quote was, despite what he thinks, we're going to keep targeting the worst of the worst, which we've been doing since day one, and deporting from the United States through the various laws on the books. We're not making this up.
Dude, one of those people was wanted in Mexico for murdering 43 college students. We talked about that last week.
The Alien Enemies Act was actually a federal law. It's a statute enacted by Congress and signed by a president. Now, that's under litigation. But put that aside, we still have Title VIII authority to remove illegal aliens from the United States, and we're going to continue to concentrate on those who are the biggest threat to our communities, the public safety threats.
But you're going to abide by court orders as long as, you know, and go through your appeals process, but you are not going to defy those orders.
No.
Okay, let me ask you about the flights at issue here.
So this fucktard, this one lady judge has halted Trump doing what he got elected to do. And we're the ones stopping democracy. We're the ones harming democracy, the death to democracy. This is such BS, dude.
Or you have said that everybody on those flights had ties to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua or to MS-13. Can you give me some background? Help me understand how these people ended up there. Are these people that were recently arrested?
No, some were, some weren't. Some have been in custody for a little bit, and some on that plane were Title VIII removals, which means they were ordered removed by the immigration judge, and some others were removed to the alien.
Title VIII was the 8 U.S. Code 1325, which I just read to you a couple minutes ago.
The Enemies Act, and I think about 240 on that flight were Venezuelan gang members, TDA, and I think we had 21 MS-13 members and a couple, specific MS-13 cases. But as far as the Venezuelans on that flight, every single one, according to the information given to me from the field, are members of the TDA. And TDA has been determined to be terrorist organizations. They are now classified as terrorists, so that plane removed 240 terrorists from the United States.
So how do you determine, or how do your people in the field determine that somebody is a gang member?
Holy shit. Do you think that there's not records on these people? They're career criminals. They came from a Venezuelan jail where they took over the jail, and then they opened up the jail and let them all out, and they jumped on trains and came here. They're covered in tattoos of the gang. It's not like a secret.
Look, there's various methods. I've noticed in the media this week, a lot of them don't have criminal histories. Well, a lot of gang members don't have criminal histories. Just like a lot of terrorists in this world, they're not in any terrorist database, right? We only know the information what's in databases based on, for instance, most terrorists we arrest that are identified by the U.S. government are later identified through a Title III investigation or through an undercover operation. They're not in any terrorist screening database. We know that. A lot of gang members, I started as a cop in 1984. Many gang members don't have a criminal history. So we have a count of social media. We have a count of surveillance techniques. We have a count on sworn statements from other gang members. We have a count on, wiretaps and Title IIIs. Everything involved with criminal investigations come into play. So just because someone hasn't been arrested and charged with a crime yet, doesn't mean they're a member of a gang.
But how do you, what we've heard from lawyers representing some of these people is that they deny that they're members of this
no
gang.
Shit.
Or either, Tren de Aragua or MS-13. Do they get a chance to prove that before you take them out of the country and put them in to a notorious prison in a country that they're not even from? I
How
mean,
do
they
we
have
know
any
they're
due
in the
process
gang?
at all?
Confident. Look, due process.
How do you know he's a Crip? Because he's Crip walking. He's wearing a blue freaking lumberjack shirt. He's doing this stuff with his hands, and he's smoking a blunt next to a El Camino. That's how I know he's a Crip.
Where was Lake and Ronnie's due process? Where were all these young women
Based.
that were killed and raped by members of TDA? Where was their due process?
Well, the people that
How
did
about
that
the
should
young
be
lady that burned
prosecuted.
alive on a
And
subway? Where's her due process?
Well,
The
based.
bottom line is that plane was full of people designated as terrorists. Number one. Number two, every Venezuelan migrant on that flight was a TDA member based on numerous criminal investigations, on intelligence reports, and a lot of work by ICE officers.
How do you know he's Trinidad? Because he's got a giant tattoo on his chest that says Trinidad, and he's saying, yo, Trinidad for life, ese, yeah, homie.
Matter of fact, 2 days after that flight took off, I even had a discussion with the acting director of ICE, and he reiterated that every Venezuelan on that plane was a known member of the
Get
TDA.
your due process
So a lot
in
of
El
officers,
Salvador.
A lot of criminal investigators, special agents who've done this for decades, looked at the intelligence information, the criminal investigation information, all the various social media and surveillance and government records and public records, and they are confident that they're all members of the TDA. And I'm not surprised that a member of the family saying they're not a member of the TDA.
Right,
But
no duh.
They were given due process.
You mean his mom said he's not in the gang? You mean he said he's not in the gang? Really? Wow. Oh, maybe he's not.
According to the laws on the...
But on that video from the gas station, we seen him doing the Trinidad walk with his pants sagging while he was stealing the candy bars. And he was saying, Trinidad, homie. We do it for life, Eze.
Look, see, that's the difference between the Trump administration and Biden administration. We're actually using the
But
laws
his mom
on the
said
books
he's
to
not in
enforce
the game.
Immigration law and secure the border at the highest level it's ever been. The Biden administration not only ignored the law, they violated the law, like District Court and District 5.
Okay, we can't watch all of this. This is 10 minutes long. We got to move on. We got to get to the memes, guys. Time is of the essence. Time is of the essence. All right. Where we at? Where we at? All right, guys. It's time for the Meantime. Okay. I'm like a crackhead. Okay. Did you guys know the past tense of William Shakespeare is would I was Shakespeared? The past tense of will I am Shakespeare is would I was Shakespeared. Would I was Shakespeared is William Shakespeare in past tense. Next. Oh, you guys aren't supposed to see that. I don't know why that's in here. Why are those eggs fried? This is a velociraptor nest that is built kind of like a pyramid, but the eggs in it that are cooked is a joke. But anyway, this is a real thing, but they kind of made it into a funny. Next. This is not supposed to be in here. This is not a meme. I just thought it was interesting. It's every geographical formation. Geysers, deserts, icebergs, capes, bays. We learned all these in school. The only ones I forgot about was a sound. A sound. How is a sound different than a gulf? A sound. And an atoll. I forgot about an atoll. An atoll is the rocks that surround a lagoon. Anyway, that's not really a meme. I just saved that because it was interesting. Next. Oh, shit. The king has been dethroned. The king has been dethroned. The worst ever rated real-life adaptation of a cartoon has been dethroned this week, guys. This is big news. For years and years and years, Dragon Ball Evolution was known and recognized as the worst rated, worst reviewed, most hated real-life adaptation of a cartoon. It was always Dragon Ball Evolution. But the king has been dethroned. Snow White is worse than Dragon Ball Evolution. Let's freaking go. It's not Dragon Ball anymore. It's Snow White. Next. Look at this. This is how Netflix portrays a 13-year-old knife murderer in the UK. The second person is the person that it's based off of. So this is the knife murderer from the UK. Netflix has a new documentary about this kid. And this is the actor who plays him. Do you see a problem here? You see a problem here. Why is this person being portrayed as Netflix as this person? I thought that usually it's the other way. Usually when Netflix does an adaptation of something, they'll take a white person and they'll make them black. They'll take a Viking Jarl and they'll turn him into a black woman, right? Or they'll take some English patriarch, monarch, king, and they'll turn it into a black woman. But in this case, they took this kid and they turned him into this kid. Do you see a problem here? I do. That's crazy. That's effing crazy. Next. The king has been dethroned. Dragon Ball Evolution, IMDb rating 2.5. Snow White, IMDb rating 2.3. Snow White has dethroned Dragon Ball Evolution. Let's go. This movie sucks, by the way. This is probably my most hated movie. This and the Dark Tower movie are my two least favorite movies ever made. Next. Raw milk is dangerous. Let's drink some Coca-Cola and eat some Doritos. This girl kind of cute, though. She says raw milk is dangerous while she's eating some snacky snacks. Dude has lizard eyes. Look into two different directions at the same time. Maximize the stabbing potential, I guess. Yeah. Oh, you talking about that? He does. I didn't even notice that. He does. He's got what are the chameleons? Monocular vision, so that he can stab as many people as possible. Then this white kid looks like a decent little kid. He's a good actor too. I watched a clip from the show. This is from, you see this here. This is I screenshotted this from Asmongold, and he played a clip from the show. Kid's actually a good actor, but he's seeing a therapist, and it's about how the evil white kid is running around stabbing people in the UK. That's not what happened, though. That's not reality. I got to go quicker through these because we have a lot of memes. Me thinking about how much the world has changed for the worse since we got 5G, but somehow our internet speed stayed the same. I wonder if it's a weapon. Dun, dun, dun. Next. Panasonic created a fridge that drives to you when called. Nope, I do not want to get high at night and see my fridge chasing me. Next. That would be freaky. Things adults should stop believing in. Santa Claus? No. The Tooth Fairy? That's my mom. The Easter Bunny? Yeah, this is the only pagan part of Easter is the bunny. And then mainstream media. I agree with the mainstream media. I agree with forgetting about the Easter bunny because I always argue that Easter is not pagan. It has no pagan roots. It is not, its origin is not pagan, but commercialized capitalist American Easter using the Easter bunny. The Easter bunny is part of pagan stuff. The colored eggs are not. The colored eggs are Catholic. Giving gifts and having a feast for Pascha is not pagan. Easter is not pagan. It's not from Ishtar. It actually comes from Eoster, which just means spring, springtime. They'll say it's from Ishtar, the fertility goddess. That's bullshit. And the colored eggs are not pagan. The bunny rabbit, I mean, even the bunny rabbit, I could argue, is not really pagan. It's actually just, but it is a sign of fertility because what we say, effing like rabbits, you know, breeding, you're breeding like rabbits. They breed a lot. So it became a fertility symbol. But also, rabbits are plentiful for meat. And so, you know, at feast times, you might be eating some rabbit in some parts of the world at your feast. So, not 100% pagan, but the bunny is the most pagan thing about Easter. Tooth Fairy is my mom, and Santa Claus is based. Like, I don't know why we would stop believing in Santa Claus. So, this one potentially drop the Easter bunny. Tooth Fairy, no, we need more Tooth Fairies in the world. We need more mamas who make sure that your teeth are taken care of and give you $5 when you lose a tooth. Based Tooth Fairy, based Santa Claus, mainstream media, Easter bunny. Easter bunny, maybe we can do away with that. Mainstream media, get it out of here. That's right. Next, the two most dangerous people in the world with prep time. Yeah. The first time you fight them, you're going to destroy them. But if you give them time to plan, the kid from Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin, and Batman. And we could also throw Goku in here. Goku's going to lose every fight the first time, just like Batman. But give him some time to train, and you're done for, buddy. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. Next. Hot Wheels losing detail over the years. Look at this. 1997, you got a full chassis of the underside of the Hot Wheel. You see the transmission, the muffler, the axles, all of the interior of the car in 1997. 2012, we've lost some detail. We've lost some detail. We still got a little bit of action going on here. Still got a muffler, still got whatever. I'm not a big car motor guy, but we lost some detail. Now let's see 2022. 2016, nothing. There's nothing on the bottom of the Hot Wheels. We're going backwards, ladies and gentlemen. We are going backwards in America. It's BS. Where's my... This Hot Wheel is beta! Yep.
No, that doesn't work either.
Next. Difference between dogs and cats. Dogs, if you're getting jumped by some hoodlums, your dog is going to come up and save you. Cats, if you're getting jumped by some hoodlums, your cat's going to jump in and start whooping your ass. Next. I just downloaded the Titanic soundtrack. It's syncing right now. Oh, no.
You ain't got the answers, man. I've been doing this more than you. You ain't been doing the education.
Bro.
Next. Titanic was an insurance scam. Chuck Norris was a kamikaze pilot 7 times.
It's a man, baby.
Next. When you're at your job interview and they pull up your Facebook, we are living in the Matrix, time is an illusion. We are living in the Matrix, time is an illusion. Dang. Steve, you'd promise you'd never sleep with another woman again. Relax, it's the same woman. If I already got caught cheating with her, I can't cheat again with her. That's a loophole, gentlemen. We found the loophole. Nice. What's up, Starboard One? Next. Underground nuclear bomb testing in Nevada. And people will say, we would never drop nukes on our own country. We would never test nukes in our... We did, allegedly. This is an underground nuclear bomb test in Nevada in 1969. This is an eruption of a Santiago volcano in Guatemala. They look very similar, huh? You know why? Because nukes are fake. Nukes aren't real. It's not a real thing. Next. World Economic Forum. Put on the glasses, they live. The World Enslavement Forum. Dun, dun, dun. Dang.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Next. It takes around 1,600 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of almond milk. It takes 4 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of grass-fed milk. And we're meant to believe that the latter is the one that's unsustainable and sapping the planet dry. Almond milk is...
Beta!
Next. Looks to be some kind of menu. The lions on the safari see the little family picture. It looks to be some kind of menu. Eat the children. Dang. We're going to eat these children.
No, that doesn't work either.
Next. Life in 2030 with unvaccinated sperm. Get them, ladies. I can't wait for 2030. As long as the World Economic Forum doesn't end the world. Next. Me, I would like to learn how to do my taxes. Public school. Molten rock is called magma. Liquid hot molten magma. That is public school for you. That's critical thinking, guys. You go to public school, I'd like to learn how to do my taxes. Liquid, molten hot liquid magma. We call this critical thinking. Next. I'm going to tell my kids this is Nicki Minaj. That is Nicki Minaj. What are you talking about? Nope, that's Rita from the Power Rangers. Go, go, Power Rangers. Next. Okay, I have an idea. Hear me out. It's a chandelavalier. A lava lampalier. Chandelava lampalier. That's based. I'd like to get one of those. Imagine if it fell, though. You'd be screwed. You'd be covered in liquid hot molten magma. Because that's what's inside of these is actual magma. Next. Wolverine looking at an old picture reminiscing the dollar menu at McDonald's. Remember this, guys? Do you remember this? Is anybody here? I think we're all old enough here to remember these days, the good days, the good old days. Oh my God. I used to go to McDonald's when I did Mag Crew. Every day for lunch, we would stop at McDonald's and I'd get a McChicken and a McDouble. Sometimes if I wanted to, $2.16 after tax. Sometimes if I wanted to splurge, for a 5 spot, I could get McDouble, McChicken, fries, and a sundae. Switch it up, McDouble, McChicken, fries, nuggets. If I wanted to go healthy, McDouble, McChicken, side salad, and a parfait for a $5 bill. It was a great time. It was a great play. You could get 2 pies for $1. 3 cookies for $1. An ice cream cone for $1. Any size drink, $1. I think they maybe still have the $1 drinks. I'm not sure about that. Probably not. Next. I know they made them smaller. They used to be 44 ounces. Now they're like 36 ounces. Inflation. Aladdin taught me that if you're a really good thief, you can get to the highest levels of government. Prince Ali, fabulous he, Ali Ababa. Next. Me watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 6-year-old me. I'm the red one. Not the blue one. The red one. I'm a combination of the blue and the red. But I'm not purple, because Donatello is a nerd. I'm smarter than Donatello, but I'm not a nerd. Based. Next. I made a pure light being for the humans. The dog. They will bring unconditional love and joy. Meanwhile, Satan's in hell. Here's a cat for you. That's so true.
Beta!
Next. Department of Education. Trump saying, they're dead. No sense praying for the Department of Education anymore. They gone. They gone. Nice. Department of Education.
You ain't got the answers, man. I've been doing this more than you. You ain't been doing the education.
Bro.
You ain't been doing the education. You need to do more critical thinking, Commie. Next. The 4 Steves of our childhood. This Steve is a little late for me. This was my brother Ben loved Blue's Clues. We saw Blue's Clues live. Ben was obsessed with Blue's Clues. But that's a little after my time. But Crocodile Hunter, Steve-O, Steve Urkel, definitely. Definitely. Next. 90s kids. Right around the corner is 40 coming to get ya. Not even 90s kids. I'm an 80s baby, and 40's creeping up, boys. 40 creeping up like a damn velociraptor. That's not actually a velociraptor. That's a Utah raptor or a megaloraptor. Based off of its size in the movie, it would be a Utah raptor. The megaloraptors are like 8 feet tall. This is a Utah raptor. It's about 5 or 6 feet tall. Velociraptors are like chicken size, but they call it a velociraptor because it sounds way cooler than a Utah raptor. Next. Planned Parenthood. This certificate is awarded to Aurora for exceeding abortion visits first half of fiscal year 12 compared to first half of fiscal year 13. You get an award because you surpassed your abortions from last year. Wow. Employee of the month. Murdered the most babies. Next. Our society is careful not to offend anyone except God. Except for God and straight white Christian men. Luckily, we're not easily offended. But they don't care about our feelings. They don't care about our feelings or God's feelings.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Next. Grandma, did you know that there are more than 2 gender... Psh, get out of here with that crap, Billy. Back the hell up, Billy. Don't even finish that sentence. You damn...
Beta!
Next. The healthy lunch I packed is my trainer. Me standing in the corner looking at the taco truck like, damn! What up, taco truck? Hey, let's go. Let's get on that dang taco truck action. Next. Undeniable signs of climate apocalypse. It's hot. If you go outside and it's a bit toasty, you can't deny it any longer. The climate is changing. It's cold. If you go outside and it's a bit nippy, you can't deny it any longer. The climate is changing. If it's raining, rain is absolute proof of climate change. If it's not raining, a lack of rain is absolute proof of climate change. Next. When you take a bioweapon for a free donut, but that pesky climate change takes you out. Dang. Holy, the motherfucking climate change. I'm so sick of this motherfucking climate change and this motherfucking planet. But I got a donut for taking a bioweapon and a case of Bud Light. Next. How Hans cheated. a mirror on the ceiling so he could see his opponent's moves. Hans Niemann versus Magnus Carlsen. He had a mirror on the ceiling so that he could see Magnus's moves. Somebody said whoever made this doesn't understand chess. If Hans could use it to see Magnus's moves, then Magnus could use it to see Hans' moves too. Duh. Magnus could have used the mirror as well to see his opponent's moves. This is funny, but we all know the real way that Hans Niemann cheated and beat Magnus Carlsen. We all know the real way. We talked about this like 2 years ago on the show. This was a big controversy. For the uninitiated, Hans Niemann beat Magnus Carlsen in chess, and everybody said he cheated. And the assumed method of cheating, and I believe this is not a conspiracy theory, I believe this. He had a vibrating anal plug in his butt, and somebody was using a computer program because he made all perfect moves, which only a computer should be able to do, especially against Magnus Carlsen. And the theory is he had a vibrating butt plug that was programmed to do Morse code to tell him the next move to make. So somebody was watching the game and had a computer program set up, and somebody was making Max Carlsen's move, and the computer was making the next move. And then this guy would send Morse code through a vibrating butt plug into Hans Niemann's asshole so that he knew the next move to make. As I recall, there was a buzz about him cheating. See, everyone knows what we're talking about. Next. My generation cut off their mufflers. Your generation cut off their wieners. We aren't the same. Damn.
Beta.
Next. 2004. Remember I was talking about predictive programming? 2004, Will Smith is shaking hands with a robot and iRobot that are about to take over the world. 20 years later, Elon Musk is shaking his hands with a robot at Tesla. This is the original. This is the Netflix adaptation. Next. What do these two ladies have not in common? It's kind of like a PlayStation 1 controller compared to a PlayStation 2 controller. One of them is missing the analog sticks. Nice. Where's my boing? Boing? We need a boing sound effect. Next. Size of an airplane? Size of an airplane in a movie. It took me a second to figure out why this was. And then I realized, oh yeah, because they'll run down the aisle in the movie forever. And they're constantly like fighting on a plane in all these different sections of the plane. And some people in some part of the plane will have no idea what's going on. And then they'll run down the aisle for like 10 minutes. And people still have no idea what's going on. They're like, we got to get to the front of the plane. And it'll take them 40 minutes to get to the front of the plane. How big is this damn plane? Next. This is a banana. If you see an apple, you're anti-Semitic. What the? Next. Are the sound effects too loud, guys? Do they like blow out your ears? If so, let me know. So many snakes on that motherfucking. There's so many motherfucking snakes on that motherfucking plane. My sense of humor. It's a Venn diagram, guys. We love Venn diagrams. Things that should not be joked about. Things that I find funny. The overlap is very big, and that's why I'm going to hell. Dang. Next. Back in 2010, the game even came with a little book. In 2020, where'd the book go? In 2020, actually, I'd say like 2016, where'd the book go? 2020, where's my game? 2024, there's not even half of a game. Like now, You download it. And you don't even get the full game. You have to buy the DLC value pack on release because they're only giving you a third of a game with a bunch of bugs in it. Then you got to get the update. Then you got to get the DLCs. Then you got to buy the character pack and the in-game purchases to get all the gear and the equipment you want. Unlock bonus maps. By the end, you've paid $500 for a shittier game than what you would have got for $40 back in the day. Is that it for the memes? I thought there was a lot more. Did I do all the memes? Yeah, we did them all. That's it, guys. That is it for the memes.
Hey, DJ.
Cut that techno crap off. Get that out of here. All right. We got a couple rapid fire news stories. A couple little funny reels. We got to get through this real quick. Not a lot. Then we'll talk about why critical thinking, the communist roots of critical thinking. Dance party. I love a yellow school bus. Cackling intensifies. All right. Funny reels first. POV, you play fight with a girl.
Bro, you're weak as fuck.
Oh, shit. This is the Dragon Ball. Bum. Boom. She flew out of her clothes. Watch when she flies out of her clothes. She disappeared and just her clothes hit the wall. Next.
Divorce, because when I woke up, it was my birthday.
He said, "This is why I got divorced. When I woke up, it was my birthday."
My wife didn't know it was my birthday. My son didn't know it was my birthday. I went to work. My co-workers didn't know it was my birthday. And my manager called me in and said, "Mario." I said, I get in there and she said, "Happy birthday." I said, "Oh, thanks." Then she said, "You want to get some lunch?" And I was like, "Okay." And then she was like, "You want to go back to my place?" And I was like, "All right." So I went back to her place and she was like, "Let me step in my room. I'll be right back." She got back 5 minutes later and my kids, my co-workers, my wife was all there to say happy birthday with a cake, and I was on the couch butt naked. So the reason why I'm getting a divorce.
The reason why I'm getting a divorce.
Jaden here. Jaden has $1 bill, 1 quarter, and 2 pennies. How much money does he have? Jaden broke.
One more time. This kid's laugh is priceless.
Jaden has $1 bill, 1 quarter, and 2 pennies. How much money does he have? Jaden broke.
Jaden is broke. Damn, Jaden, you broke, boy. All right, update on the Doge stimulus checks from Newsweek. So, they say that the Doge stimulus checks, the $5,000 payment figure is not guaranteed and could fluctuate depending on actual government savings. So this article explains where they get that 5,000 number from. If the goal is $2 trillion of savings by June of 2026, I believe. Let me see. And the way they figured it out is they did the math. There's 80,000, or wait. Okay. We think Doge could save $2 trillion over the next couple of years. If you take 20% of that, as the Doge dividend calls for, and send it back to taxpayers, 20% of $2 trillion is $400 billion. And there are roughly 80 million tax-paying households in America. So if you go 40 billion divided by 80 million, you end up with $5,000 to each tax-paying household. That's what we think we can get to. But the dividend paid back is going to be based off the savings. So if they only save $1 trillion to 80 million household tax-paying households is $2,500 checks for each household. If the savings are only $500 billion, which again is really, really low, then the savings are only the checks are only $1,250. So what we need is for Doge to keep doing what they're doing and save as much money as humanly possible and to hit their $2 trillion goal for the $5,000 checks. So Democrats protesting and doing a bunch of dumb shit at Tesla factories is going to hurt their pockets, but they don't care because they're a bunch of damn commies who live off the government and don't have jobs. It all makes sense now. That's why they're trying to stop Elon from saving money, from cutting government spending, because they don't want taxpayers to get a $5,000 check. They want to screw us out of our $5K. Some BS. What's up, me, myself, and I? It's just me, myself, and I. Listen to this story from Breitbart. Texas janitor gets 6 years for spreading STDs by peeing in office water bottles. Bro, that's savage. A janitor who worked in a Texas medical facility was sentenced this week to 6 years in prison after he spread sexually transmitted diseases by peeing in women's water bottles. The man infected at least 13 women. I'm not going to read this whole article, but that's crazy. Look at this guy. And his name is Diaz. He's a janitor. He might be an illegal immigrant. Get him out of here. You can't pee in water bottles and give people STDs, Mr. Diaz. This is crazy. This is crazy. State of emergency declared as, this is from USA Today. State of emergency is declared as wildfires rage out of control in the Carolinas. Every week it's something different. Carolinas got hit by hurricanes. Then, like 3 weeks ago, we reported that the Carolinas were in a drought. They were having drought problems. After the hurricane, after all the water dried up, they were in a drought. They had no rain. Things were dying. Plants were dying and stuff. It was a dry dust bowl was happening. There was dust kicking up. Plants weren't growing. It was a drought in the Carolinas. Then last week, tornadoes. Tornadoes go through the Central America, through the Tornado Alley, and they tear up the Carolinas. Now, the Carolinas are in a state of emergency due to wildfires. Who the hell is targeting the Carolinas? What does Bill Gates have against the Carolinas? What did the Carolinas do to you, Bill? That's crazy. That's crazy. Update in COVID news. Check this out. We got some studies. Review calls for market removal of COVID-19 vaccines. This is from ResearchGate YouTube. I'm reading from researchgate.net publication. The headline reads, Review calls for market removal of COVID-19 vaccine intensify as risks far outweigh theoretical benefits. And there's some studies here. Let's look at some of this stuff. It's hard to read. 19,000 deaths, 90,000 hospitalizations, 119,000 urgent care visits, 199,000 doctor's office visits, 2,500. I can't read that. Anna Holanis? Anna Holanis? I don't know what that says. Thought it said amputations, but it doesn't. I can't read it. It's very tiny. How do I zoom in? Oh, that's better. Anaphylaxis. Anaphylactic shock. That's when your throat's swelling up, right? An allergic reaction. And 6,356 Bill's palsy. 9,000 heart attacks, 2,000 miscarriages, 5,000 myocarditis and pericarditis, 18,000 permanently disabled, 3,000 thrombocytopenia, low blood platelets, 15,000 life-threatening, 36,000 severe allergic reactions, 8,000 cases of shingles so far. Look at this graph, how it skyrockets right in this section. There's more. Let's look at this graph. Reported deaths for major drug vaccine recalls. Data obtained by VAERS and FAERS. Polio vaccine. That's pretty low. Swine flu vaccine, pretty low. Meridia. Prosecure. Dibizolesterol. Sildane. Resulin. Baycol. So this is like when you release a vaccine, these numbers are gonna happen, right? And you want them to be very low, right? So this is like, these are getting kind of high. You know, Bextra and Baycol, they're getting kind of high right in here, right? These ones, little high. These ones maybe a little too high. These ones all seem pretty safe. The polio vaccine, the swine flu vaccine, they seem, you know, it's not too bad. But what happens when we get to Vioxx and COVID-19? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold up. Look at that. Dang. Oh, you thought the Bextra one was high with 1,054 deaths from this Vaseline. And this was recalled. And these are all ones that were, so the polio one was not recalled. The swine flu one was not recalled because this is 53 deaths in a year, 10 deaths in a year. But the Meridia one had 94 deaths and it got recalled. So, you know, these are low numbers, but it was enough to get it recalled. But this is 94 deaths over 13 years. And they recalled it because of 94 deaths over 13 years. This had 118 deaths in 1 year and it got recalled. This one was 214 deaths over 37 years and it was recalled. This one was 406 deaths over 13 years and it got recalled. 649 deaths in 1 year from Resulin, that's pretty bad. Baycol, 714 deaths over 4 years, it got recalled. Bextra, 1,054 deaths over 1 year, and it was recalled. Vioxx, over 5 years, had 6,600 deaths. Yeah, you should have recalled that one a little earlier. COVID-19, 2 years, 37,544 deaths, and it has yet to be recalled. Huh, that's interesting. YouTube, we're just reading some studies. I'm not, I'm not giving any opinions on this. I'm just reading studies. That's all we're doing. And this is all from ResearchGate. Published in Science, Public Health Policy and Law, Public Health Policy Journal. organizations that called for the withdrawal. All of these organizations have called for the withdrawal of it. We're not going to read all this, but interesting. Studies say if any of this is fake news, which I don't think it is, it's researchgate.net, then, maybe it's not true, but that's what the studies say. Studies show. All right. Enough of that. I'm just reporting on the news. I kind of agree with Asmongold. He said that Rachel Ziegler is kind of hot. And in this picture, she is kind of hot. In the Snow White movie, not so hot. But regardless, being hot doesn't make you based or a good actor. Nolte, Snow White bombs, breaks record for lowest live-action remake opening. Snow White holds the record for the lowest debut weekend of any Disney's live-action remakes. You're kind of hot there. Snow White bombed. Let's go. It's because they try to make feminist propaganda. She talked about how she didn't like men. I don't have much time for this. We played a video about this the other night, but they found... First, I heard that it was a battery. Now they're saying that it's an underground city. Ancient find, mystery, new city found underneath Egypt's pyramids, stretching 6,500 feet below the surface, and a shocking discovery. 1.2 miles of what looks like tunnels going straight down into the ground under the pyramids. There's a video. I don't have time to watch it because we need to move on. But some people are saying they're like coils and that the pyramids are like batteries and it's some sort of energy thing. Some people are saying it's an underground city. Some people, and this is what I would probably lean towards, is that they're tunnels to the depths of Sheol. They're tunnels into the pits of hell, to Tartaria in the hollow earth. And that's one of the passageways for the mouth of the world to open up, like it talks about in Numbers. Was it Numbers or Leviticus? When the mouth of the world opened up and swallowed the people into the pit. This goes down to the pits of Sheol. It's one of the gateways that's going to open up to release the Leviathan and the dragons, aka dinosaurs, and giants and demons into the earth during the end times. That's what I think. Those are the stables they kept the dinosaurs in. Duh. Yeah. Right. Those are the pits where the quote unquote raptors would come through. And raptors were just small dragons, and they would come up through the tunnels in the ground. Yep. But then there's these pictures like that it's like some sort of Tesla coils or something, some sort of battery. But the real picture, do they have a real picture of it? They don't have the picture of it. It does not look like this. Like, this is definitely an artist rendering. Like this, we don't know that it is anything like that from the images we've seen. Where's the thermal imaging? They're like taking a lot of liberties with this drawing right here. I don't know about all that mess, but anyway, guys, I don't have a lot of time. Oh man, I wanted to read through this whole thing. Okay. Dang it, I don't have enough time to go over all this. I went too long. Okay. Commie thinking. Critical thinking. In educational theory. Okay, first off, let me give you the premise here. critical thinking is communist. It's Marxist. It's socialist. The creator, the modern reformer of modern day education is a guy named John Dewey. John Dewey was a socialist. He wrote a book called Democracy in Education. He reformed our education system with a focus on critical thinking. Critical thinking is supposed to be using reasoning and logic to question everything and to not go along with presuppositions. Critical thinking is the type of crap that took God out of schools. Because if you say, I believe in God, that's where we get deconstructionism or what's it called? Deconstructing from, because they say, well, let's question that. Let's look at this God that you talk about. Is there really any evidence of him? Do you have proof? Let's think critically about this. This is communist. It's how they take God out of everything. Conservatives, especially conservative women, who are always like, we need to do more critical thinking. You need to stop talking like commies. Stop using these words. They'll say the roots of critical thinking actually go back to Plato and Aristotle and Socrates. They didn't call it critical thinking. They called it philosophy. We already had a word for that. It was called philosophy. If you want to do philosophy and you want to be a thinker, that's fine. But critical thinking specifically is commie. It's a commie buzzword. It's using language to control people. Think of the word critical. In a video game, what is a critical hit? It's a hit that does extra damage. What happens if you get injured and you go to the hospital and you're in critical condition? It's not a good thing. When is critical? What about critical race theory? Critical theory. When is critical ever a good thing? So why would you want to think critically? Critical is not a good word. Is a word that means extra damage, and critical thinking is extra damaging. Listen to this. Critical thinking, an education theory, mode of cognition using deliberate reasoning and impartial scrutiny of information to arrive at a possible solution to a problem. From the perspective of educators, critical thinking encompasses both a set of logical skills that can be taught. They're going to teach you how to be logical in school. The teachers, the Democrat liberal education system is going to teach your kids how to think critically. Both a set of logical skills that can be taught and a disposition towards reflective, open inquiry that can be cultivated. Yeah, don't listen to what your parents say to you. Think critically about it. The term critical thinking was coined by American philosopher and educator John Dewey in the book How We Think in 1910. They left out that he was a psychologist too. Not just a philosopher and educator. He was a psych guy. How We Think, and was adopted by the progressive education movement as a core instructional goal that offered a dynamic modern alternative to traditional educational methods such as rote memorization. So they got rid of traditional education, the homeschooling and the school buildings where a woman would teach all the kids in the community about God and, math and science and just basic things. Just, 2 + 2 = 4. Simple. You don't have to think critically about that. It's a step-by-step process. You memorize the steps and you come up with the answer. Very simple. That's what school should do. School should teach you, if I mix baking soda and vinegar, I have a volcano. If I add 2 and 2, I get 4. But then in 1910, this commie comes in and he says, no, we're going to teach the kids how to think. We're going to teach the kids how to question everything, especially what their parents are telling them about God and about all these presuppositions they have. We're going to teach them how to think critically and question everything. Critical thinking is characterized by a broad set of related skills, usually including the abilities to break down a problem into its constituent parts to reveal its underlying logic and assumptions, recognize and account for one's own biases in judgment and experience, Collect and assess relevant evidence from either personal observations and experimentation or by gathering external information. Adjust and reevaluate one's own thinking in response to what one has learned. All right. So let the schools teach you how to think. Don't let the parents teach you how to think. Form a reasoned assessment. And also, this is another reason that they're against homeschooling, because they don't want the parents to teach the kids, to indoctrinate the kids into the values of the parents. They want to teach the kids. And this was why Marx was anti-homeschooling. He was only public schools. Homeschooling, if you're homeschooling your kids, then you have your kids are like your property. And Marx was against personal property. So you can't homeschool your children. What do you own your kids? You own your kids and you're going to teach them what you want? No. All the kids need to go to the public school where the government is going to make sure that everyone has equality and thinks critically about everything. No. Marx was also against marriage because marriage showed that the husband had ownership over the woman. She was his property. He was against homeschooling. He was against marriage, against the nuclear family. And so they put the kids all in a public school and they teach them how to think and not listen to precepts that their parents gave them. Theorists have noted that such skills are only valuable insofar as the person is inclined to use them. Consequently, they emphasize that certain habits of mind are necessary components of critical thinking. This disposition may include curiosity, open-mindedness. We got to be open-minded, guys. We can't be closed-minded. We got to be open-minded. Self-awareness, empathy, gay, and persistence. Although there is generally accepted set of qualities that are associated with critical thinking, scholarly writing about the term has highlighted disagreements over its exact definition and whether and how it differs from related concepts such as problem solving. In addition, some theorists have insisted that critical thinking be regarded and valued as a process and not as a goal-oriented skill set to be used to solve problems. Critical thinking has also been accused of reflecting patriarchal assumptions about knowledge and ways of knowing that are inherently biased against women. That sounds based, but I don't think that's true. It's been accused of that probably by feminists, but that's I don't know about all that. But I do know Dewey was a socialist and a Marxist. Dewey, who also used the term reflective thinking, connected critical thinking to a traditional of rational inquiry associated with modern science. From the turn of the 20th century, he and others working in the overlapping fields of psychology, philosophy, and educational theory sought to rigorously apply the scientific method to understand and define the process of thinking. They conceived critical thinking to be related to the scientific method, but more open, flexible, and self-correcting. Instead of a recipe or a series of blah, 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 blah. I don't have time to read all. I wanted to spend more time on this so I could read you this other thing. In the progressive education movement, critical thinking was seen as a crucial component of raising citizens in a democratic society. Instead of imparting a particular series of lessons or teaching only canonical subject matter, theorists thought that teachers should train students on how to think. As critical thinkers, such students would be equipped to be productive and engaged citizens who could cooperate and rationally overcome differences inherent in a pluralistic society. And how has that worked out so far? Beginning in the 1970s and 80s, critical thinking as a key outcome of school and university curriculum leapt to the forefront of U.S. education policy. In an atmosphere of renewed Cold War competition and amid reports of declining U.S. test scores, there were growing fears that the quality of education in the United States was falling and that students were unprepared. In response, a concerted effort was made to systematically define curriculum goals and implement standardized testing regimens, and critical thinking skills were frequently included as a crucially important outcome of a successful education. A notable event in this movement was the release of the 1980 report of the Rockefeller Commission on the Humanities that called for the U.S. Department of Education to include critical thinking on its list of basic skills. 3 years later, the California State University system implemented a policy that required every undergraduate student to complete a course in critical thinking. Sounds like a bunch. Hold on.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
So, a little bit about the philosopher John Dewey, often considered the father of modern-day critical thinking, defines critical thinking as active, persistent, careful consideration of a belief or supposed form of knowledge in the light of the grounds that support it and further conclusion to which it tends. So, why do you believe in God? Why don't you think critically about it? Should you really be believing in God, guys? If you think logically and critically about it, you might see that that's not really a good belief to have. I wanted to read more of this, but I don't have time. I got to go soon. Modern critical thinking, cornerstone of education and intellectual development, has roots in ancient philosophical traditions. So the roots, he was philosopher, but he mixed psychology and science with philosophy. And I don't think they go together. So this is not, I do think there is some value to philosophy, and there is some value to thinking about things like Aristotle and like Plato and like Socrates. But he took that and he added Marxism and he added science to it, and he coined the term critical thinking. Instead of philosophy, it's critical thinking. And I think critical thinking is the antithesis of philosophy, of actual thinkers. Critical thinking is when you're taught how to think and you're taught what you know from an intellectual. Was adopted by the progressive education movement. The progressive education movement. I have a whole thing here that I don't have time to read to you guys. There's an example. Shonda was researching information for her upcoming persuasive speech. Her goal with the speech was to persuade her classmates to drink a glass of red wine every day. Her argument revolved around the health benefits one can derive from antioxidants found in red wine. Shonda found an article reporting the results of the study conducted by Dr. Gray. According to Dr. Gray's study, drinking 4 or more glasses of wine a day will help reduce the chances of heart attack, increase levels of good cholesterol, and help in reducing unwanted fat. Without conducting further research, Shonda changed her speech to persuade her classmates to drink 4 or more glasses of red wine per day. She used Dr. Gray's study as her primary support. Shonda presented her speech, got applause from her classmates. She was shocked when a few weeks later, she received a grade of D. Shonda's teacher had also found Dr. Gray's study and learned it was sponsored by a multinational distributor of wine. In fact, the study in question was published in a trade journal targeted to wine and alcohol retailers. If Shonda had taken a few extra minutes to critically examine the study, she may have been able to avoid the dreaded D. So fact check. Do a fact check. Critical thinking is fact checking. What happened to common sense? We used to have common sense. I have a lot more time I could spend on this stuff. Well, I have a lot more stuff. I wanted to read this whole thing. Well, I can't read the whole thing, but I was going to go through this. So this is from stlawrenceinstitute.org. Was Dewey a Marxist? And it goes through John Dewey's whole life, his experiences, a brief biographical sketch, Marxism defined, Dewey and Marx. This, and I haven't read all of it, but I skimmed through it and I read the conclusion. Dewey and socialists. He was against revolutionary violence, but Dewey was not deterred from accepting an opportunity to visit Stalin's Soviet Union in the summer of 1928. He went as a member as an unofficial delegation of 25 American educators under the sponsorship of the American Society for Cultural Relations with Russia. His philosophical influence on socialist educators in Russia can be traced back to the 1905 revolution, but since its most prominent followers did time in czarist prisons thereafter, his ideas were not resurrected until after 1970. Nevertheless, his earlier Soviet disciples said they found much value in the work of John Dewey. One prominent Soviet educator, Albert P. Pinkervich, in comparing Dewey to contemporary German educators, said Dewey comes infinitely closer to Marx and the Russian communists. There is little indication that Dewey found this sort of comparison to be extreme or uncomplimentary. So Dewey agreed. Dewey published a series of laudatory impressions of Soviet Russia in the New Republic between 1920 and 1928, most of which developed a less than cautious New World in the making theme for Soviet Russia. However, through the 1930s, Dewey's infatuation with the Soviet state declined in direct proportion to the Central Committee of the Communist Party's own disappointment over the debilitating effects of progressive education on Russian graduates. So he introduced this progressive education idea in Russia, and within 10 years, the Russians were like, this is like crippling our people. And so then he kind of stopped supporting Russia and the Soviets. Dewey's dramatic squabble with Stalin and the Communist Party may have done much to maintain his reputation as a Cracker Barrel Vermont pragmatist and divert generations of Western educators from asking more serious questions about the sources of his thought. Right. So he was a fan of Stalin and he was a fan of Russia. A bunch of his disciples ended up going to prisons in Russia, and he brought this socialist progressive education plan to Russia, and within 15 years, they're like, no, we're not doing this anymore. So he fell out with the Russians, and because of that, people in America, when he started introducing this to the West, people in America didn't question his values because they knew he had fallen out with Stalin. But in reality, he was teaching Marxism in American schools through critical thinking and through our public education system. And now it is the cornerstone of education. California picked it up. He wrote a book called Democracy in Education. And this is like the foundation of modern education, is this guy. He's a commie. He's a Marxist, pinko commie. He was trying this stuff in Russia. They didn't like it after a little while. At first they liked it, then they didn't like it. Then he brought it to America. And we just latched our teeth into it and we ate it up right after the Cold War. And California was the first state to make it a law where you had to take a critical thinking course to get into college. Where are you going and when will you be back to work? This is a very interesting topic. The world certainly pushes for public school. Anything the world pushes is pretty much the opposite of what is best for us. Yeah. And the public schools push for critical thinking. Conclusion, modern educational theory. I don't have time to read all this, guys, but I read the whole conclusion this morning. Historical work should be evaluated on its own merits and not by indicting affirmations, disallowing themselves any consideration of Marxist influence. They accepted the omission of any consideration of Marxism solely on the grounds that it would be strident and improper, rather like an ad hominem argument. But Himmelfarb goes on to argue that it is neither irrelevant nor ungracious to consider Marxism in a serious analysis of work that one has a good reason to believe is guided by the fundamental premises of Marxist thought. Indeed, not to do so can be counterproductive because it means refusing to take seriously what the author himself took most seriously. So what this guy Himmelfarb says is basically, he says, at the time, nobody wanted to question John Dewey about his Marxist beliefs because they felt like it was a personal attack to bring it up. So they just swept it under the rug. They're like, well, he got in an argument with Stalin and he left Russia and he's not doing that anymore. So, and this seems like a really good idea. Democracy and education. Don't worry. Maybe people have said that he thinks just like Marx, but let's not question that because that would be like a personal attack. That would be like an ad hominem. Let's take the merits of the critical thinking idea on its face. Let's not look into the fact that the guy who made it up is a freaking bleeding heart socialist, commie, Marxist. Unfortunately, philosophy is no longer taken seriously, either as a source of success or failure in education. The much talked about problems in our school today are, for the most part, examined in material terms. Aside from the ethnocentric issue of language of instruction, all parties seem to have agreed to discuss education almost entirely as a fiscal issue. The conventional progressive paradigm, albeit with frequent revisions and practical modifications, is fundamentally unchallenged. In 2 full terms as an elected commissioner in my own school district, I was unable to sustain any real interest in a consideration of educational values and alternative ideas. Public officials have conceded control over the content of education to appoint professionals, quote unquote, and any trespass into that jurisdiction is regarded with utmost impatience. Shying away from this challenge will in no way continue to the long-term recovery of our schools. The preliminary inquiry into John Dewey's relationship with Marxism intended to provoke a fuller investigation of Dewey's philosophy, as well as that of the other influential educational theories in the 20th century. It also intended to raise the question of Marxism's general relevance to a systemic analysis of Canadian education. To address these matters would require more than 1 full treatise. To avoid doing so out of reluctance to appear intermittent or ungracious can only lead to a long-term acceptance of what may be systematic and symptomatic error in educational theory. Surely we have the responsibility to seek as full and complete an understanding of the form of the content of our schools as we possibly can. It is up to us to ensure that the paradigms which guide our practice are congruent with the customs and qualities which our society has tested over time. So, if you read all of this, was Dewey a Marxist? Yes, he was a Marxist. Yes, he was a socialist. Yes, he is the father of modern education and the founder of critical thinking, which is a cornerstone of our education system. His greatest book is called Democracy in Education. He started the progressive education movement, and he's a commie. The idea is don't listen to your parents, don't listen to your churches, don't listen to what you grew up in, your precepts, your presuppositions about God and about these things. Let the experts teach you how to think and think the way they tell you to think. Question everything. Be open-minded. It sounds nice. Just like Marxism sounds nice, just like socialism sounds nice. But we see the results. Kids can't read, but they know how to be social justice warriors. They know how to protest. They know how to go to a protest. They know how to complain. They know how to get government, taxpayer dollars to fund their life. They know how to work a minimum wage job for their entire life and complain about how minimum wage needs to be raised. They know how to do all those things, but they don't know how to read. But they're critical thinkers. They're critically thinking. Critical thinking is for commies. Stop using that word. Stop using that term. It just sounds bad. Critical is not good. Critical condition means you're about to die. A critical hit means you did extra damage. Critical race theory, critical thinking. Critical is bad. It's a commie word. Don't say it. Question everything. No, that's critical thinking, stubborn one. You don't want to question everything. Because sometimes if you ask too many, you want to question stuff. Questioning stuff is okay. But your thoughts are lies. And when you dwell on it too long and you get too intellectual about it and you keep digging and you keep digging and you keep digging, then you're not going to believe anything. There's an unhealthy level of skepticism. And we're not good. Critical thinking is what makes atheists. Critical thinking is what makes flat earthers. Questioning everything. At some point, we have to have precepts. We have to presuppose things. We have to have transcendentals. We have to believe that we can know things. Just know things without even questioning it. Like, I know God is real. Can I prove it? No. If I question it enough, I'll get lost. If I think too critically about it, I'll get lost in the sauce. You get lost in the sauce with all that open-mindedness and all that questioning. Some commie gobbledygook.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
What he means is don't trust anything unless you have a bunch of hard evidence. Right, that's critical thinking. I think I believed that the C19 Vaseline was bad before I had a bunch of hard evidence. Now we have the hard evidence, but it's too late for a lot of people. Fact check. Fact check it. What are the fact checks? The fact checks are always wrong. That's what we see. I don't have a bunch of hard evidence for God. I presuppose that he's real. If I critically thought about it, if I questioned it, then I would get it's I don't know. There's like a certain level of questioning everything where it's healthy, but then it can also get dangerous. Let's get dangerous. Anyway, I got to go to work, guys. I don't know. I think me and Stubborn One probably agree, and maybe I'm misinterpreting, or we're chatting and talking past each other. We're critically thinking about critically thinking. Critically thinking about critically thinking. No. I'm just regularly thinking, not critically thinking. Critically thinking is commie. Regular thinking is good. Regularly questioning is good. Critically questioning, not good. Anyway, I gotta go. Let's see if there's anywhere I can raid. Online don't count for hard, solid evidence. What do you mean? You mean that's a crazy thing to say, dude. You know that the internet is like the source, the gathered source of all the information ever that we have. Where else are you supposed to get it from? A book? Oh, you mean a book that they already have online? What does that even mean? Oh, where'd you find that from? The internet? Where'd you find it from? An encyclopedia? I have the encyclopedia on the internet. What are you talking about? Every book is on the internet. Andrew's having a debate right now? Oh, yeah. He's on the modern day debate. He's on that modern day debate place right now. I'll send you over to Andrew. All right. Have a great day, Josh. Good night. God bless. Yeah. I'm sending you to the Crucible. But later, guys. Have a good night. God bless. Remember, don't think too hard. Sometimes if you overthink something, if you critically think about something too much, you're going to screw yourself up. Sometimes we need to get back to where common sense is common. We need to go back to intuition and instinct and just knowing what's right. Even if we don't have proof, even if we don't know how we know, we just know. It's common sense. Common sense should be more common. Now everybody's so focused on critically thinking about stuff that they're missing the forest through the trees, or they can't see the forest through the trees. They're seeing all the trees, but they don't see the forest. You see all the pieces, but you can't put together the puzzle. That's the point, I think. And John Dewey was a communist. So that's the other point. All right, guys. God bless. Have a good one. I'll see you later.